All right, guys, this next guest, I feel like, is a mythical figure in the underground scene. I feel like when you say his name, they start playing the heavenly trumpets. Strange Famous Records, Mr. Sage Francis, man. How you doing today, Sage?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm alive. Family's well fed. Preparing for tour and a new album. I'm constantly stressed and I deal with anxiety, but it's like, pain management every single day. It's just my day-to-day life. So honestly, things are good. They're not worse.
Right. I hear you, man. All right, well, let's start at the beginning. I know you don't really like to cover the beginning, you know what I mean? Because I've seen you say this before, but people like to do the interviews in this kind of way. So I got to do it this way. So you're born in Miami. How long do you live in Miami for before you moved to Providence?
2 months. My mom and dad were from Rhode Island. They were living in Florida. And once they had me, they just made plans to go back to family. So, I was raised in Rhode Island and, yeah, I've only been to Miami one other time since then. So,
wow. And you're an only child, right?
I am my mother's only child. Yes.
Okay.
So that's how I was raised because my father wasn't in the picture after a couple of years.
So your dad ends up leaving after a couple of years of your parents being together?
Yeah. I mean, my first memory was my mom kicking him out of the house and him laughing at her. And then they tried to co-parent. And then eventually I mean, this is a conversation I need to have with my mom, but I remember a lot of how it went down, but she basically kidnapped me. Well, she's my mom, but she took me away from him in a way where he couldn't find us because he had an older son with another woman who the woman did the same exact thing and took her older son away from him so he could never find my older brother.
So during your whole life, you never really had a relationship with your biological father?
He ended up finding me because I was living under another name. That's why he wasn't able to find me for quite some time. And then he tracked me down and they went through the courts. So he got partial custody of me for a few years. Every other weekend or every weekend, I would stay with him in Woonsocket and with a brother, not like he wasn't blood related, but he was like an older brother who was there living there as well. But the first time this is weird. Okay, I got to backtrack now. The first time he lost custody was when I was 4. And he ended up taking me and that brother I was just talking about, along with my dad's girlfriend, to a drive-in porn theater. And when I got home and I told my mom and grandma what I had seen, that's when my mom pulled the plug on everything. And she disappeared me. And then he found us and they went through the courts and then he got partial custody. And that only lasted until, man, I don't remember what happened. All I remember is that by the age of 12, I was able to legally change my name to my stepdad's name. And he was out of the picture probably since I was 8 years old.
Wow. Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
That's okay. It was all for the better, honestly. It was good.
Was it confusing for you during that time though? Like when all that stuff was happening, or how did you like process that?
Yeah, it was very confusing. I mean, they put me in therapy for court purposes. So a child therapist, and, it felt very awkward and I could tell it was, they're digging in me, trying to get things out of me. And I didn't really know why I was so afraid of my dad or why I had to be so afraid of my dad. And then I was told he went to prison and then then he was never spoken of. So his name would never, ever come up. It just became a thing that you don't mention. And I totally forgot about him for a while. but there was, I think, a lot of anger issues came from that, and yeah, confusion, sadness. And because I have some good memories with him, but most of them are not very good, unfortunately.
So his demeanor when he was with you, would you say like it was loving? It was like, no?
Nah, no, he was like, he wanted me to be tough, you know? He's like, don't be a sissy, trying to get me in fights with other kids in the neighborhood. You know, taught me how to shoot a gun, and I didn't like shooting the gun because the recoil would hurt my shoulder, and he'd laugh at me. And it just was never loving. It never was like, I literally don't think he ever told me he loved me, but he used me as like a chip against my mom. You know, like he only wanted to, you know, be a thorn in her side. And it wasn't because he really wanted to be part of my life.
Early on, did you have those type of conversations with your mom? Like, did she explain to you what was like going on?
Not really, nah. No. I think it just was understood that, you know, you're better off not having him in your life. Let's try to keep it that way. She moved my stepdad in when I was 3 or 4. Really nice guy. His name's Ray. And he raised me. He was like my little league coach. He was heavily involved. He got me involved in all different types of stuff. And I'm very lucky to have had him in my life. It gave me a blueprint for what I ended up doing later on in my life, later in adult life.
Right. And your mom was a bartender and your dad was a locksmith, right?
My biological father was a locksmith.
Oh, okay.
It was like a trade in his family. Yeah, my mom was a bartender, but her main occupation was, she worked at Rentham State School, which is a facility for disabled adults, mentally handicapped adults. And my stepdad also worked there. So they both worked there for a very long time, taking care of special needs people. And that was their main job. Although my dad would eventually go on, when I say dad, my stepdad would eventually hop from job to job. And he was like forever on a like get rich quick scheme because he just was sick of work. And he's like, I got to figure out how to make some real money. Like, this working all the time shit is not the business. Yeah. So eventually he worked for the Woonsocket Call, which was the newspaper that, you know, I delivered papers for them. He was there for a long time. Then, yeah, he just worked various jobs that were never careers.
How would you describe yourself as a child? Were you quiet, social, into school, sports?
I was an anomaly, I'd say. I was very withdrawn for the most part, but very athletic and involved in all sports. So I was captain of my football team. I was captain of the hockey team as a senior. Played baseball, soccer, but what took up most of my childhood and young adulthood was martial arts. So I think my mom got me involved with my first martial arts school when I was 8 years old. And I was there for maybe 2 to 3 years. And it was like Okinawan Kempo karate, and they never sparred. And like, I just was like, this is not going to save me in the street. So we ended up going to like this like underground dungeon Cobra Kai type school because the sensei there actually worked with my mom and stepdad. And it was hardcore. It was like in the back room of a gym. And it was like an open door policy. Anyone who wanted to come in and spar was welcome to do that. And he pushed me very hard. It was probably the most spiritual I'd ever been in my whole life. Like just the whole ritual of the process. And it was a big deal to me. And it was like, I still have dreams about it from time to time. But by the time I got into college and I kind of moved a little far away, I couldn't keep making it back to class, and I was teaching after a while, and I couldn't do that after a while. But then poetry, spoken word poetry took over. Like that took over that part of my life. That was where I knew I couldn't dedicate myself to both things. I couldn't dedicate myself to my music and spoken word poetry and also be as dedicated to martial arts the way I was. So I made a choice and never looked back.
What do you think that you pulled away from martial arts? Like, did you learn discipline from it, or like, what did you learn?
A lot of discipline. Just being able to push ahead when it feels like you're down and out and you can't fight anymore. I learned how to protect myself. I learned how to fight, which gave me the confidence that was necessary in a lot of aspects of my music career, especially in battle rap. Just being able to deal with those nerves and also not getting bullied around by punk ass rappers, you know, like I obviously ran with a crew that wasn't looked at as tough guys, but face to face, or when you see me on stage, or, you know, like there was no bullying me. And it was funny because I could just feel the confidence. I was like, I want you to understand, if something goes down, it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen. And I think I gave off that vibe well enough where people just never really mess with me. There's been a few occasions, but there was never like a targeted, continued targeting event on me. Like, this fucking nerd, get this shit out of here. Like,
right. So in regards to school, like, were you really into school?
I despised school. I still despise school. And you never graduate dream school. So you're always there. I didn't get along with the kids, most of the kids in my school. It was, I was from a small town. I had a class of 100 people. I think 99 graduated. But I was the hip hop kid before that really was a thing in white neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And it made me a pariah in a lot of ways. And I wasn't just the hip hop kid. I was the pro-black kid. I was the pro-black liberation, Public Enemy, X-Clan kid, King's son, a poor righteous teacher's kid. It was just like, it wasn't Will Smith and it wasn't just Run DMC. I was bringing a lot of shit to the table and having an identity crisis probably, but I loved what hip hop was teaching me that I wasn't getting at school. It just felt more real, felt more accurate.
It spoke to your soul more.
It really did. It really did. I tend to, I don't know, gravitate toward the stories of the disenfranchised rather than repeat the stories of colonizers. And that made me a weirdo where I was from. But I didn't get bullied again because they knew I had hands and feet. And I was big for my age, even though I was like one of the youngest kids in my class. I was very big for my age and I was muscular for my age. They had me playing on the senior football team when I was in 9th grade. It was like the varsity team. So, I mean, I just had a reputation of, all right, this dude is weird, but don't fuck with this cat. And don't make fun of rap around him. And definitely don't say anything racist.
So at that time, you're talking what, the 80s?
This was, I would say, the early 90s, 90, 91, 92. Okay. The late 80s is when my first concert was in 88 with Run DMC, Public Enemy, EPMD, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and the Fresh Prince. So, I had just started getting into things that weren't readily available. Like there was a Fat Boys tape floating around my school. Fresh Prince was on the radio. Supersonic was hot on the radio, but this was the fad era of hip hop where everyone was like, it's just a fad. It'll go away. Like people aren't going to keep going to YMCA to take breakdancing lessons. And that was true. But this is when I learned there was something under the surface of all that. And my exploration into that was seminal. And thank God there was college radio where I lived. So I could get Boston College Radio and Rhode Island College Radio. And about once a week, both of those stations would have a hip hop show where they play Rakim and KRS.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I taped all those shows. I listened to them on repeat, because this is not a time where you could go to a store and go to a hip hop section for a tape. There was no hip hop section at the store. There was like, you had to search through everything and try to like find something that looked like it was hip hop. The one like big score I had was I got the Too Short, Life is Too Short tape.
Right.
And because it said, it said R.I.P. Sucker MC, I was like, this is definitely hip hop. And he has big gold chains. And yeah, but sometimes you'd get a stinker or some R&B bullshit. It was really frustrating. So to this day, I kind of hate R&B.
I've seen the tweets.
I've
seen the tweets. You complain about it. You're like, you're home of hip hop and R&B. You're like, get the fuck out of here. You're like, I just want a hip hop station. That's it.
Why does every why does every mainstream radio station have to couple R&B with hip hop? Always. It's always coupled. It's like, that's not, to me, in the essence and spirit of it all, that's not the same thing. And it's not, I love one and hate the other. So stop mixing them together. But what's funny about that is the first guy who ever made me a beat, and the first guy I ever recorded with, his name is DJ Buck. This was in 92. And back then he had a show in Rhode Island and he played like dope hip hop. But now he is a DJ at one of the hot stations in Connecticut, like the big hip hop, home of hip hop and R&B station. And he hit me up after I made that tweet, and I hadn't heard from him since 92.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So he was like, yo, I was like, is this really Sage? Oh shit. He was like, yo, let's get on a phone call. So the next day, he called me up. He's like, yeah, man. He was like, he kind of seemed like kind of embarrassed. He was like, oh man, I'm just got to get a paycheck, man. It was like, I got to do the hot radio stuff. You know how it is. I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not blaming you. Get your check. I mean, you've been in this game forever. You deserve all this and more. But we went on a trip down memory lane where I was like, reminding him of certain stuff. Cause that was back when I was one of maybe two white kids in a crowd in Providence who was rapping. And I was rapping fast, like Chip Foo. I was like doing my Fooshnickens thing because, like if you're going to get disrespected as a white MC right off the bat when you step to a stage at a hip hop event back in those days. So I wanted right off the bat to, wow the crowd, because no one was doing that in our area. And and it works. Like, it's like, oh, all right, you got our ear. Now, what else do you got? But it
almost like punch them in the mouth, right? Like,
yeah. You just razzle dazzle right away. It's like, I'm not the ordinary white kid from the suburbs. So that got me in with a few people, including Buck. And yeah, I mean, I got a lot of stories about that, but that was the early era of me finally getting outside of my hometown, traveling to South Providence, inserting myself into their events where I was a stranger and an outsider and not welcomed, but I continued to do it. And it caught some people's eyes and ears. I ended up getting a quote unquote manager from it. Shout out to Larry Tucker, who I was 14 years old. This black dude who was dealing with a lot of stuff, which I would come to learn later. But the first time I met him, like, he pulled out a gun on someone. I don't even know why he did that. It was at the end of the event, end of the block party. And I like this 14-year-old white kid going up to a hood dude. And I was like, yo, you should never do that. don't ever do that again. So he went and met my parents because he wanted to talk to them about managing me as a rapper. Because he saw the potential. Is like, all right, this is this is the crisscross era. This is where young kids are getting on, especially if they have like a special skill or they could rap fast. And he just had no idea how the industry works. So that was a total waste of time, but it was good. He did connect me with DJ Buck, and Buck gave me a solid beat, and it started giving me an idea of how things are done. Cause up until then I was totally faking it in my bedroom with my tape recorder and my boombox and playing the beat from the boombox, put my head between the boombox and the tape and rap verses over pause tape instrumentals that I would make from beats that, a rap song toward the end or in the beginning wouldn't have any rapping on it. Yeah. So I would just loop that, and that's what I would rap over. So this was leveling up for me.
Because you started writing and recording at 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
So when you first started writing, was it just poetry at first, or you were immediately writing rhymes already?
No, it was rhymes. I had no interest in poetry, not until college. I just liked the braggadocio. I liked the tough guy rhymes. I like the sex stories. Like the silly stuff, the goofy stuff, the violent stuff, anything that you would enjoy in the 80s from an action movie. That's what I liked from hip hop. It almost kind of
looking at it from an auditory kind of standpoint, obviously, because you're hearing the stories, instead of like visually watching it.
Right. Yeah. And it was almost catered to me. It catered to my age group in a weird way. So that's what I did. That's what I emulated. So I still have a lot of recordings of me sounding like Too Short. I actually have a song where I'm doing Too Short's accent, which I didn't even know where it came from at that point in my life. But, trying to do Run DMC styles, trying to do Slick Rick styles, Beastie Boys eventually, until I finally, started to figure out my own way and my own voice. And that was a long journey. And that is a long journey for almost any artist. But when you start off young and impressionable like that, you want to sound like your heroes. You want to feel like you fit in because you're like them. And then eventually you learn you contribute by just being yourself and sounding like yourself. If you can develop that voice and, contribute to the culture in that way.
So at 8 years old, what kind of rhymes are you writing? Do you remember any of the rhymes?
Yeah. So one of them was, I said this to my grandmother at a sushi restaurant. Well, it was a Japanese restaurant. I remember her being appalled. It's a core memory for me. So I wanted to show off my rhyme. I said, my name is Ace and I can rock the place. And if you come any closer, I'll rearrange your face. And she went, oh.
Was this at 8?
Yeah.
You said this?
Yeah. And, I may have totally stolen that from somebody. I don't know. I don't know what 8-year-olds talking about rearranging a face, but that was the rhyme that I kicked. And I know I had more to it. I probably actually still have the lyric sheet that I wrote it on. I saved all the lyrics from all the years. So
why Ace? Was that the first rap name that you came up with?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what's cool. What's a cool name? Ace. I'd gone through 10 names probably over the course of 10 years.
That's insane. Cause you went from you were Strange Famous at one time too, and Zalzan, right?
Yeah, well, those are alter egos.
Alter egos.
Yeah.
But then what were some of the other names that you went with?
So before Sage Francis, it was Sage, just Sage. And I came to realize, okay, well, this is too generic. I need to differentiate myself more from other people who are going to call themselves Sage. Before Sage, it was Hostile. And I came to learn there was another Hostile. But also I didn't like the name because you can read it as Ho Style.
Right.
And I was like, all right, I'm better off getting rid of this. So before that, I mean, I don't know why. One of my earlier names was D-Rip. I think because I had a shirt that was a big D and I pretended it was my merch shirt. But that was when I was very young. I had another name called, Hostile the QT Wonder. And it was one long acronym because back in the Edo G and the Bulldog days,
Right.
When they were popping off, everyone in our area was rocking acronyms for their crew and with their name. It's like everything had a deep meaning because I was like, I remember the QT part of my name was quick tongued. I don't remember what the rest of the letter stood for, but, yeah, nothing really felt right. I just didn't want to be called MC Paul.
For sure. So with you starting out just so early on, like, were you just doing it as a hobby, or you knew already, like, I want to do this for the rest of my life type of thing?
Well, yeah, it did obviously start off as a hobby, being so young. And, kids are like that. If they enjoy something, they want to involve themselves and figure it out. I just never stopped doing that. But I remember when I was 12, I went to an underage dance club where they had talent contest.
This is when you're sneaking out of the house, right, to go battle rap?
Yeah, well, this was before that. This was 2 years before that. So I had a friend drive me, and it's weird. We had underage dance clubs, and there was like a wet t-shirt contest there. And it was like, things were not proper in Rhode Island. Like, things were really not on the level. But, I ended up winning that contest, winning a t-shirt, and the radio DJ signed it for me. And I can remember that night I dedicated myself because I felt so good. I kind of like cuddled with the shirt and I had dreams of like rocking stadiums. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. But then by the time I turned 15 and I hadn't been discovered yet, and I don't really know what that would entail, I kind of like felt deflated, like I had missed my window and I was getting too old to really like make an impact or be a novelty. That's because I think I was banking on being a novelty, like Crisscross was.
Right.
And I missed that window. So, I think by that time that's when I started developing my voice that you can probably trace to what I do now. I started writing more introspective stuff, and I started telling my story, and I started using hip hop as therapy. I started really talking about things that upset me or disturbed me or made me sad. And it wasn't bragging anymore. It was, taking it more seriously, and not as much stuff as I'd want to share with people. Cause I was just exploring that pathway. And,
yeah, I've heard you say in the past that like the more personal stuff was what you kept to yourself, like for your own, like, I guess, listening, right? Like the more, I guess, braggadocious rhymes are the ones that you would play for people more.
Yeah. Cause that was the community. That was, the ciphers coming in with punchlines, making people laugh, or, just doing that style. That was what was popular. And if you did anything else, you weren't taken seriously. But I was talking about, so what's funny is even when I was in junior high, I had written a song that eventually turned into a song that ended up on my first 12-inch in 1999 called I Keep Calling. And that's when I learned how to be more abstract in my writing and how to utilize metaphor over simile. Because punchline rap is a lot of similes. It's a lot of blah, 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 like boo, boo, boo. Or you're as nasty as blah, blah, blah. But metaphor is like you level up with the metaphors and you can be more playful with metaphors. And so I guess I obsessed over that for a bit. And when I was my first year of college, I was writing a lot. And this is when I first got exposed to spoken word poetry through a woman named Patricia Smith, who put on a show for our college. And it was just her, no music, no nothing, just her voice, her stories, her poetry. And it enthralled me. It gave me the same feeling that hip hop first gave me. And I was amazed. And I went up to her after the performance, just so inspired. And I told her, I said, hey, I want you to know, I'm going to do what you're doing right now. I'm going to do this. And she was like, oh, yeah, good. And then 3 years later, we're on the same flight to Austin, Texas to perform in the National Poetry Slam competition. I was representing Providence. She was representing Boston. And we became friends in a way. But I reminded her of that story. I'm like, you really are the one who set this off for me, because I never knew there could be so much power in vulnerability. Hip hop disguises that in various ways. But what she was doing was she was putting her vulnerability out in the open and working with it and making us feel it in a way that we didn't look at her as weak. We looked at her as strong, looked at her as powerful. And that's the strength of good writing. So that's when I'm like, I really gotta work on my craft, my craft of writing. Like this is a magical thing. This is not something, to take for granted. If you have the ability to do it and you have the ability to grow it, you help yourself and you can also help others in the process. So, and I also noticed that there was a big gap in the playing field in hip hop, because they weren't doing that in hip hop. It was pretty much frowned upon, or you'd be looked at as gay, like.
Right. It's the overly machismo kind of rhymes are more acceptable.
Right.
Like the mental health awareness wasn't at an all-time high yet, right? That wasn't like a popular thing. So early on, like you were able to I guess be introspective with inside of your feelings, be aware of those things and cognizantly put that out.
Yeah. Even though I didn't really think there was an audience for it, but I saw an open path that I could take. And so I started developing that voice, which I don't even think was fully developed until my first solo studio album, which was Personal Journals, which we just celebrated the 25th anniversary of, or 24th, whatever the case. At first, I would go to these open mic readings. It wasn't involved with slamming yet. It was poetry readings. And I would go up there and just do my verses a cappella. So I wasn't writing. It was all rhyming. I was still rhyming, but it was very intricate, and it was best for it not to be over a beat so that the people could actually hear what I was saying. They could connect the dots in my topics and what was what. And then I gradually started to write stuff that wasn't rhyming, because I do feel in my heart of hearts the best poetry doesn't rhyme, but my love and my heart is in hip hop and rhyming. So I try to combine the two.
So speaking of rhyming, we know that you are influenced by Public Enemy, Run DMC, right? But I've also heard you say that your mom is the one that taught you how to rhyme.
My mom likes me to say that she taught me to rhyme. I mean, sure. I mean, don't all parents teach their kids to rhyme? Right?
I mean,
I never went out of my way to teach my son how to rhyme, but he's like, hat and bat. Dad, does that rhyme? I'm like, yeah. And then I would start rattling off more words. And then, yeah, so she liked to play rhyming games with me. I do remember that. I don't think that made me an ill lyricist, and I don't think that helped me with actually good rhymes, but, yeah, that's a whole other topic. 'Cause you talk about how elevated rhyming became from the 80s to the 90s to the early 2000s. It became a whole different game. It's just like the way you rhyme, how many things you rhyme, where they rhyme.
Rhyming, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And not,
sure.
Like not just rhyming for rhyme's sake. Like you can tell when a rapper does that, and you listen to older hip hop, is like, that's a filler line he used because he had to say the next thing. So
right,
people,
if you don't lose the message and you still can do the multi-syllable rhyming, now that is like the, chef's kiss. Basically.
It is. It really is. If you can do that and make it sound incidental, like you didn't purposely do that, it just kind of fell that way. Yeah. That is a magical thing. That is something I chase in my writing. And I always look out for. It's just things float in my head, and sometimes I capture them. I'm like, wow, that's a very interesting combination of words that also make sense and rhyme. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Let's save that one.
For sure. So you've been on record as saying that you had a lot of nightmares as a kid that you still remember pretty vividly, and they went away in junior high, but you still scream in your sleep from time to time. Where does that come from?
I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, I'll have a nightmare from time to time, but it's not like how they were when I was a kid. When I was a kid, they're like horror movie nightmares. And that might be because I was exposed to horror movies way too early. But what they are now is they're just super weird. And it's more of a feeling than an event. It's more of like a sense of doom when you know, oh, this person I'm talking to right now is about to change. My kid just got run over by a car. Those are my nightmares now. When I was a kid, I remember one nightmare where I dug up some sacred stones in my backyard. There's 3 of them. And once you dig these 3 stones up, that's when the dead people come alive. And I realized it in the moment that that's what it was. And I looked down my street and there just was an army of dead motherfuckers marching toward me. And, that was so scary. I just never lost that memory just because it was very, very vivid and impacted me somehow. I was like, what the fuck is this all about?
So did you ever analyze it to be like, I think that this is associated with like this trauma or something like that?
No, not really. I don't give too much credence to the messages in dreams. Just let them do their thing. Your mind is in defrag mode at that moment.
Yeah, they say, because because I have a degree in psychology, and they say that a lot of times your dreams, you have some people that say that it's like your self, your consciousness coming in, but other people say that it's like your brain is trying to make sense of the storyline by weaving in the things. That's why it doesn't make sense,
Yeah, it's like the original AI.
Right. Right. That's true. Right. It's like you, I mean, I'm sure you've had it happen plenty of times where like a person in the dream becomes somebody else out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
Well, my dreams, which I found funny that other people said this is not common, but often in my dreams, I will become different characters within the room. So I'll have one perspective, and then at another point, I'll be another person with their perspective, talking as them and acting as them. So it's like, you ever see the show Quantum Leap?
No, I haven't.
All right. So this guy just leaps in, like he'll figure out someone's problem. And then when that problem's all figured out, he automatically gets quantum leaped into another person.
Oh, wow.
So now he's a new person. He has to figure out their situation and fix whatever's wrong with them. That's kind of what it's like, but it's not like that. It's more in the same room.
Do you ever have lucid dreaming where you're aware that you're dreaming and you can control what's going on?
I can't. Anytime, there was only one time I was able to do that when I was a kid. I realized I was dreaming. I was in my classroom and I said, I can do anything I want right now. I'm going to punch Alan in his face. And Alan was like, this wasn't his real name, but Alan was the nicest kid, like the sweetest kid. And then
so you were the bully?
I wanted to do like the most ridiculous thing, but I didn't do it because I felt bad. And then then you lose lucidity at that point because you're not doing what you want. That's the only time I had it.
So you end up going to college to pursue an associate's degree in communications and a bachelor's in journalism, minoring in public relations, right? This is where you get the radio show on WRIU called True School Sessions, right?
Not at first. The first college I went to was Dean College in Franklin, Massachusetts. And they had a radio station called Power 88. That's quite a name if you know about white supremacist terminology. So 88 stands for Hitler. I'm not saying that, but Power 88 is like white power 88. They had a strictly no hip hop policy. And I was a straight A student in that college, and I only went there well, first to play football, but I wanted to be on the radio, and I wanted to learn not just their radio. I wanted to be on radio for a career, perhaps.
Wait. So did you get a scholarship to play football?
No, because I came from like a D division high school.
Oh, got you. Okay.
So although I was like all state linebacker, it didn't prove much. So the coach was like, play a year with us. We'll see, if this translates to college, and then we can talk about the scholarship. And then after double sessions, I said, fuck this shit. I was like, fuck this shit. I was like, I'm paying all this money I wouldn't be able to get any of my schoolwork done. I'd be too tired. Mm-hmm. So I just gave up on that dream. But yeah, so I did the college radio thing, and then I ended up getting a lifetime ban from their radio station. And my college professor, who knew I was like a star student, he was so disappointed in me because it was my last show with them. And rather than playing every song they told me I had to play, I just played whatever I wanted. And I talked over every song, and I rapped over Walk This Way, and just made a joke of it because it was like midnight to 1 a.m. I didn't really think anyone was listening. And then some fucking dweeb ratted me out to the teacher, and then I got in big trouble. But yeah, so he was like, "You set college radio back 100 years."
I'm sorry, but that sounds like some white thing to say too, though.
Yeah, totally, totally. But that school sucked. I hated it, but I just wanted to do my studies. I remember I lost my girlfriend of 4 years when I was there, and that was crucial to what my career then became. She had actually given me the name Sage. I had taken that name from her because I would read her all my lyrics, and she'd be like, "Damn, kid, you're a sage." I said, "What the fuck is a sage?" So I had to, she was a book reader and she knew stuff. I had to look it up. But I was certain that.
Wait, she meant that like burning the sage?
No, like a wise man
got
sage.
You, okay.
Like top of the mountain, white beard sage. But when she broke up with me, that shattered me. Anything that I identified with and my whole ego is just dissipated. And I went through a very, very tough time for a very long time. Again, I became very withdrawn. I became very angry. But the college professor who was disappointed in me, in his class, he gave us an audio assignment where we had to use tape to tape to record something and involve music with voiceover. And I recorded a song called The Right, which was to her. And it was a very heartfelt breakup song. And he had a no hip hop policy, but it was so well put together with a crummy setup in a studio that just was not conducive to the kind of things that I was doing. But since I had been doing this kind of stuff since I was a kid, it was like I was in Candyland, having access to different types of equipment. So I did very well with that grade, but I drove, and she was still in high school at the time. So one day I drove to her high school.
Wait. You got to clarify the age difference, because you know how people are going to run with narratives and stuff.
Yeah, we were a year and a half in difference.
Okay, yeah. Just saying,
and like I said,
how people are.
Yeah, I was the youngest kid. I was the youngest kid in my class. So I went to her school, waited for her to come out with her new boyfriend, and I coerced them into my Jeep. I said, "Listen,
it for him too."
Yeah, I said, "I want you guys. I want you guys to listen to this." So I put the tape in, played the song, and you can hear the song. It's on one of my Sick of mixtapes on the Bandcamp. I think it was on Sick to Death. I'm not sure, but it sounds crummy because I had a like third or fourth generation dub of it. That's all I have left. But I played it for them. And when all was said and done, it was like, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Remember me, remember me, remember me, remember me. So that was my big gotcha moment. And she goes, is that it? Is this over? I was like, yeah. And I looked back at the other kid. I said, take good care of her. In retrospect, I feel very cringy about it. But in the moment, in 1996, I knew was like, now everything I do, I'm going to do to try to impress you and win you back. And I eventually did. Like 10 years later, after Personal Journals had come out in 2001 or 2, and when the Nonprofits album came out, the Hope album, that's right when it happened. And we reconnected. And I helped her move out of this dude's apartment. She was still with the same guy. Yeah. So, I just obsessed over her. I felt like the one who got away. I was like, I'd never be complete without her. I just constantly wrote about it and thought about it, and I felt incomplete. I felt awful. I changed myself. I changed a lot of things about myself. I tried to be very overly kind. Like I knew I was an asshole. I wanted to be a better person and work diligently on being a better person. And by the time we got back together and I moved her into a new spot, I was already touring a lot. But there's only one time I stayed at her spot, and I felt something in me that I knew was wrong. I felt revenge. And I felt like, I want to fuck you up the way you fucked me up for so long. And I told her that. And I said, I'm sorry. Like, we can't do this. I was like, I just feel vindictive, and I know it's going to come out in bad ways.
Yeah, and it's not a good feeling to have.
No, and she didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve any of that. She was correct to leave me when she did. I tell her that, like, we still on birthdays will message each other, and I'll always tell her, I'm like, yo, you were so correct in what you did. And I am so sorry for like certain ways I acted like I had control over you or something. I was just a very insecure, angry kid dealing with a confusing situation at home. And you were my best friend. And I felt like losing you, I had nothing after that. So I dedicated my entirety to music and spoken word poetry since then. And, yeah, so we're on good terms now. In fact, she has a wife now. So,
wow.
Yeah. So that worked out in her own way.
So we can title this that you turned her lesbian.
I don't know if it was me, but that's a whole other story. It's not the only time that's happened to me.
So when I've heard you talk about college, it seems like you didn't really care for school or respect the university experience. Almost like it was a waste of time or a means to an end. So why go to college? Like, why not move to New York or something and pursue a career in hip hop directly at that time?
Right. Well, the pathway where I came from is from high school, you go to college or you're a loser. And it's also the first time I was ever living outside of my town. I had things to figure out. I had things to explore. And it was cool being in a different environment of people. It was cool being around people who loved hip hop and rapped, and to meet DJs. But I did kind of despise the schooling experience, the actual classes and having to memorize stuff. And I wasn't, I thought maybe I could write for a newspaper. I really wanted to write for The Source. I wanted to be a hip hop journalist if I couldn't be a hip hop artist. So by the time I graduated Dean College with my associates in communications, I felt like I've got nothing to go on with this, really. Like, I'm not going to go to town hall meetings and be an intern and take notes. I'm just not going to do that. So what you just mentioned is what I did. I attempted to move to New York City, and this was in 96. So after the big breakup, and I was like going through all these life changes, a friend of mine from Dean College was staying at Columbia University, and he offered to let me stay with him for free for the summer. So I went there, and oh man, I remember the first time I got out of the cab after like taking the train, the first fucking person that I saw was Mike D of the Beastie Boys in the street entering a cab. I had a very intensive Beastie Boys period where I fanboyed the fuck out from License to Ill, but more Paul's Boutique. And I wanted to learn everything about these guys. And like, I wasn't really a Mike D guy. I was an ad rock dude, mostly. Like that was my hero of the Beastie Boys. But holy shit. I mean, I was starstruck. And I go, yo, I was like, hey, I just want you to know, I just moved here from Rhode Island, like right now. And I'm looking to like get involved in, in any kind of like hip hop stuff. And he goes, oh, yo, you should, check out Fat Beats Records. And, yeah. All right, good luck. And then he got in his cab and drove away. But, anyways, I bumped into a lot of interesting people during my time in 1996. It was like, it could be a movie the way it all played out. Cause I would walk the streets, look for ciphers.
Wait, which part of New York are we talking about? Because you lived in Brooklyn for a while too, didn't you?
Yes. Well, so this was in Manhattan.
Uh-huh.
So I would look for ciphers at nighttime. I walk randomly. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I am. And I would find a couple here and there. And then I joined one. It was like a lot of rappers in a circle and we're all doing it. Like this was a thing back then. You don't see it anymore because like smartphones killed that whole culture. People didn't really want everything that they said in a freestyle to be recorded and put online forever. Cause you could be, you could say something really dumb and like get dismissed forever because of that. But yeah, and one of them I was rapping with Breeze Everflowing, who's an MC from out there who ended up doing like bigger battles. Like he was on TRL battles or whatever they did with Carson Daly. Does that sound familiar? Did Carson Daly? Yeah, he did TRL freestyle battles after, like when things got really big with the battle scene.
I think you're talking about when MTV had the MC battle.
Yeah. Yeah, like a live.
Yeah.
So he was on that. He did really well on that. But anyways, we connected and we exchanged numbers. And then I saw him in 1999 at the Boston Bowl battle. That's the next time I saw him. The Super Bowl battle in Boston.
Right.
And he looked at me and he was like, yo, and he said my name. I was like, holy shit. You remember me from like that 30-second freestyle in Manhattan in 1996? It just was like, that was so cool. Like so many things like that happened while I was in New York, where I met a lot of like people who I would end up like working with or knowing later on down the line through a different context. But nothing ended up happening with that. I had a few like odd jobs. I couldn't really hold anything down.
Wait, was this when you were working for Ben and Jerry's for like 6 months trying to pay off your student loans?
Oh, I didn't pay off my student loans. I paid off my first MPC with that money. So, but that was in 1999. Yeah. But once I toured heavy, the first time I came into actual money, the first thing it went to was my student loans. I just wanted, and what's funny about that is it hurt my credit. If you pay off your student loans in one big bulk, your credit gets affected in a negative way, which is
ridiculous. Yeah.
It's just another sign that we live in the most bullshit society, rigged society.
Exactly. Wait, so when you were already in Massachusetts at the time and everything, right? You never ran across Dave Mays or Benzino or anything to try to go work for the Source magazine?
No, and only in New York. I met one of their top writers, and he gave me his card. I still have it.
Who?
I think Byron something, I believe. I can't remember it now. That was in 1996, and I do have the card somewhere, so I'll dig it up. But I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to get any ins. I didn't know how to like really present myself. I hadn't written. I just, I went to college and they didn't teach me shit. That's how it was. I knew like the basics of the most basic shit. Not how to submit material of mine to a publication I want to work for.
It's not stuff that they don't teach you how to apply it in the real field. You know what I mean? It's just like kind of like just the book knowledge. That's it.
Yeah, that is pretty much what it was. But I did, and I was also trying to get discovered. So I'm not trying to lock myself into a career that's not hip hop at the time. I'm like, all right, I'm out of college. I got a little bit of wiggle room right here. Let me see if I can make anything happen. And nothing really blossomed from that. So I ended up going back home, took a year off, worked, delivered newspapers for a year, actually working under my stepfather. Wrote a lot, recorded a lot, and a lot of this material ended up being on mixtapes that came out later on. And then I went to URI because we first started going to the radio station. That's where 90.3 WRIU would have a 3-hour hip hop show every weekday, which was huge. And so in 97, 98, 99, this is where a lot of people are getting their hip hop. This is where you first hear songs for the first time and the only place you can hear certain songs. So we're driving about an hour to the radio station, going to the studio and just like asking if we can freestyle. So at the time I was rocking with a crew called Clockworks. That's AMS One, Fest One, Orator, DJ Orator, this kid named Products, kid named Vocab. And we would just infiltrate the studio. And I would go there so often that eventually they gave me my own show, even though I wasn't a student there. That's how much I bugged them and how much I just stayed in that studio. Cause I also would use it to record myself. So if you freestyle or if you perform a verse on the air, you get a good quality recording out of that, like better than I got anywhere else. So that's what I would constantly do. And that's why a lot of those things ended up on my mixtapes. So then eventually I did, enroll there as a student just so I could make everything official. And, I did it mostly for the radio station. I started working with, different producers. Joe Beats just started to learn how to produce. So we formed the group called Nonprofits. But Nonprofits wasn't just supposed to be me and Joe Beats. It was supposed to be a bunch of different people. It was supposed to be a crew. But it turns out I was like the only reliable rapper in my crew. Honestly, which is sad because there was a lot of talent. Like I feel like we gave Boston a run for their money. We would often go to Boston and hit up the battles and open mics and rip shit. And they would want to look at us like the little brother, the way New York looks at Boston. So Boston wants us to be their little brother, but we were holding our own. And that's why it was a big deal in 1999 when I won the Super Bowl battle. Cause it was like this Rhode Island spoken word kid came into your house and beat all the MCs that have vinyl out. That's, big deal. That was a big deal.
Let's go into that, right? So 1999 Super Bowl MC battle in Boston. You end up battling Esoteric. Now, this is like an epic battle. Like, talk to us about that.
Well, we had previously had mini beef from my radio show because I was a shit talker. Like, I loved getting people's goats. I loved getting people riled up. Part of me didn't believe a lot of people were listening to my show, but it turns out it had a cult following that just grew and grew and grew because I would talk so much shit, but also play the illest shit. And I would also rap live on the air. and have crazy interviews with people. So it became an event of sorts. So I actually don't know if I said anything specific about Esoteric. I think someone prank called my show and said they were esoterodactyl. So maybe I said something off color on the air about it. But he ran with a couple people who antagonized me frequently. So it was clear that we were not buddies. But I tried to interview him on my show. He wouldn't do it. I emailed him. I'm like, hey, we're doing a lot of stuff over here. I was like, let's build. Let's do something. He's like, what do you mean build? What are we going to build? I was like, all right, fuck it. So that was that, like that's the vibe I got. I was like, he's not trying to hear anything from this white kid from Providence. So when the Boston battle happened, I knew all his material. I played his stuff on my radio show. One of my best friends went to school with Esoteric. So I had way more information on him than he had on me. He could only deal with generic information when it came to me. I was able to rattle off a lot of various shit, which gave me the advantage in a weird way. Even though he was the bigger artist, even though he had more fans, even though this was in Boston, I think Boston can appreciate an underdog. Boston can appreciate like the underdog coming up and like showing off and doing his thing. But it was the Esoteric battle. I mean, I've also battled Acrobatic. Acrobatic is an incredible freestyle MC, an incredible MC in general.
Right. Before we get into Acrobatic though, because the Esoteric battle, right? You guys go 2 rounds, and then they bring you back for another one, right?
It might have been 3 rounds and then like an acapella ending. I can't remember now.
Well,
but it felt forever.
Yeah, it was like it was pretty like it's crazy because like people that have watched that battle, not in its entirety with like the other battles, before, after, like the whole video, they think that that's the finals.
Right.
But it wasn't the finals, but it was like on that kind of level of energy, like the competitive nature between you guys was on that kind of level where it seemed like this is like a final match.
Yeah, totally. It really was. It really was. I was like a little yippy dog, like I was a totally different person at that time. I was very skinny. I was very energetic. I'm very yep. I'm like rattle. Like that energy exhausts me now. I look at that video. I'm like, God damn. Like, calm down, kid. But it was a very big deal for me because Mr. Liff, who I love, was in that battle. Like every Boston MC who I played on my radio show was in that battle. So at the end of that battle, the last person I faced was a guy named Alias, not the Alias from Anticon. He was in a group called OVM. He's a very talented MC. I really don't know what he's doing these days, but he ended up doing stuff at Scribble Jam. And that battle was kind of like, at that point, I think I had exhausted a lot of my motors. It was not a great battle. That's why it's not really thought of as the final battle. But when the whole thing was said and done and I won, all the MCs that were in the battle, all the Boston MCs, Rhode Island MCs, they greeted me at the stage for a big group hug. And that meant the world to me. It was almost like, all right, we accept you now. That's kind of the feeling I got.
Esoteric too? You guys watched it at that point? Everything was good?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was good, but he participated. He partook in the hug.
In the hug. We're brothers now, okay?
No, but I would see like he's a good shit talker. He's just a classic New England shit talker. So
you got to appreciate that. That's one of your skill sets. So, you got to appreciate it too, right?
Yeah, we bust chops. That's right.
Yeah. Well, did you know if he was mad when they said that he lost to you?
I think he was in disbelief.
Oh, okay.
Like I really thought he didn't think it was even possible. So it was a big shock. Yeah. And I told him, I've actually emailed him recently in recent years. Like, yo, I just want you to know, like I was at a great advantage in that battle. Like I know like people look at that and like, oh, how did that happen? But it's like, I knew everything about you, like that's why I don't enter battles now. That people just have way too much information on me to draw from and I don't know much about them. So I'm not going to put myself at that disadvantage for the most
Right.
part.
Well, I mean, back then too, it's kind of like you gotta know about each other through, because the internet wasn't as big as it is now. I mean, like only a certain amount of people were really on the internet in
But
certain communities,
yes,
right?
yeah,
So
but
it's like now you can find out so much
Mm.
just on anybody with the, within seconds, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like before, it's like you had to be a part of the scene. You got to get like word of mouth from somebody else to get some inside scoop,
Yeah, a whole other game.
Yeah. So Scribble Jam 2000 was something special, man. ADeeM won in 98. He's in it in 2000 with you. Idea is in it. He won in 99. He's there. You're in it, of course. Brother Ali, Blueprint. Brother Ali beats Idea in the first round. And the funny thing is they rode to Scribble Jam together, right?
Yeah, they did. They did.
And ADeeM loses to Blueprint in the second round. Let's talk about your battle with Brother Ali in the second round.
Okay, so we weren't on great terms. The fact that I ran with the Anticon crew and he was with Rhymesayers, and Rhymesayers was trying to separate themselves from anything Anticon and anything white nerdy or experimental. And Brother Ali was not familiar with that style of MC of the crew that I was with. But he recognized, which he would eventually tell me, he saw the fundamentals in me. He's like, oh, he's not like the other cats. Like, this guy's going to be a problem. Slug and Idea were playing him Sage Francis songs on the way to Scribble Jam. And that's when he realized, he's like, oh, this dude's a rapper. Okay. Well, but we weren't, I think he looked at me as an enemy because I ran with people he didn't get along with and had beef with. I didn't care, man. I was like, I went to Scribble Jam on a whim. ADeeM and his DJ Shalem, somebody else, they asked me if I wanted to drive with them to Cincinnati, 10-hour drive to check out Scribble Jam. Cause it's all, they were like, it's the coolest shit, man. It's like everything's going on there. It's like all the MCing, graffiti, breakdancing, DJing. I was like, yeah, I want to check it out. I'll sign up. I'll have fun with it. So I signed, I went there in my heavy metal gear. I looked like the kind of person the typical MC would already tell a white MC they look like. Like, you're a heavy metal dude. What are you doing here? It's just, I just wanted to make it too obvious. Like, you can't say this because it's too obvious. You got to dig deeper. You got to say something else. So I owned that character. I owned that heavy metal character. I got in for free because the fucking door people thought I was the sound man. And I had not been, even though I won the Super Bowl battle in 1999, that was far removed from this battle. It was like I had stopped battling at that point. So I didn't have high expectations whatsoever. What I did have, like I mentioned earlier, was the ability to fight through anxiety and fear and not get thrown off my game just because I'm in front of 1,000, 2,000 people. And I did well. I wouldn't say I was the illest battler of all time with that battle, but I did well. I did what I had to beat every MC. But with Brother Ali, that felt like the final battle, and it wasn't, because I could have easily lost that battle if I didn't pull out like one particular line at the exact right time. And that's what I did. So
what line would you say that was?
So I went with a very generic, typical diss on his albinism. And I said, I'm the type to be squashing MCs. You was a fat black man with the Michael Jackson disease.
Right.
And the crowd, like, it just the way it hit in that moment and the way I said it with the energy and my body language and the way he took it. Cause like he hears that kind of stuff all the time, but not like that was like more clever than he usually hears it. And I just won the crowd over in that moment. And I know that there's more to the battle that I don't remember, but
well, he said when he met you that he was standoffish and you were wearing a wig, like you were throwing him off his game, and you asked what scissor was, and he basically helped you beat him because he told you what it was.
I think that was the following year. But
was it? Oh, okay.
It may have been this year, that year though. I can't remember. But it's true. Like the Scissor song had just popped off. It was very popular. I had no idea what it was. So I was like, it was really just a way of breaking the ice with Brother Ali, who I've become great friends with. Like truly, I love the dude.
He's dope, man.
Yeah, he is. He's an incredible human. But so it was a way to like talk to him. I was like, yeah, because I was like, you know, stuff like this. What is scissor? So he explained the whole thing to me, and then we ended up battling each other, and I'm able to use the line against him that he just taught me the meaning of it.
Yeah, he said I taught him that just 30 seconds ago.
Yeah. So stuff like those kind of games that you can play during freestyle rap battles, that's what makes those things so dope and entertaining for me.
So you end up battling Blueprint in the finals. Talk to us about that battle. Was this a controversial decision, or does the video just make it seem that way? Because when they announce you winning, you hear some people booing.
Yeah, honestly, that battle was not memorable. I remember the first round was fine. The thing was, I was calling out all of his lines. It was all very predictable lines in a battle.
Right.
So
you're good at that. You've done that in a lot of different battles, man. Like you see people's angle coming like right before.
Yeah, you do it enough times, you see the patterns. It's easy to call out. So, I mean, that's just a tactic. But I will say after the first round, they had technical difficulties. So we waited a long time before the first round and the second round, and a lot of people had left. And this was also at the very end of the night. There was 99 MCs in this battle. So this fucking thing took forever. We were all exhausted by the very last round. And there was that like technical hiccup that made us wait longer. And by that point, I had just taken off my wig. Like I'm not doing it anymore. I'm like hot and I'm exhausted. So I'll be honest. I don't even remember what we said in that round. It didn't seem to matter either. It just was like, I don't know.
But how did you feel when they announced that you won? Like, was it like you were surprised? It was a dream come true? Like, how did it feel?
I don't know. No, because I mean, the Super Bowl battle, that was my dream come true. Like, even though it was smaller and it's not as like renowned as Scribble Jam, not as revered. To me, that was what I had to win in order to like feel accomplished in that scene. Scribble Jam felt great winning it. Obviously, I'm on my upward trajectory at that time. My career is skyrocketing. I need that. So it was like, it kind of felt like a relief. In a weird way, it's what I needed to continue the upward trajectory, because then my name is all in all the magazines. Then people are like, who the fuck is Sage Francis? Like all around the world. And then they go on Napster and search my name. Then they learn my music and then they want more. And then I'm able to do shows all over the world. And that helped. It certainly helped winning Scribble Jam, because during that time, Napster was at its prime.
Right.
And the internet was still small. Like in a way, it was like, it's not as all over the place as it is right now. It was more centralized, I should say. So I benefited from that.
You have any stories from that year that you remember?
Oh, well, after that, in 2000, I ended up, I can't remember if this was before or after that, but that was the year I did the first tour with Atmosphere. Like it was a short one.
Oh, I meant in regards to Scribble Jam. Do you remember anything else that stands out?
Okay. I remember one funny thing. So, there was a hip hop site called Hip Hop Infinity.
Right.
And they were like big with rap nerds at the time, and underground kids. And they would give their annual top 100 MCs. And I had made number one on their list for that year. And, I saw their booth at Scribble Jam, and I saw the owner. His name is JC Graves. And I walked over to him, and I'm just kind of messing with his stuff and whatever the merch is. I'm just like kind of being a jerk. And because he didn't know who I was. That's just kind of how it was back then. People like, that's why I could enter a battle called Zalzan. And like, people don't see the face and be like, that's Sage Francis. Like, you had a lot of anonymity back then.
Right.
But anyway,
right.
I fucked with him, and then we like dapped up or whatever. I thanked him for the list and whatever. He ended up really fucking that site up, and he could have went on to do great things with it. It's unfortunate, but
when you think about that though, right? Like, do you wish that you had created a site or something like that, a hip hop site, and did journalism in that way, like early on?
Well, I did do that. So I was one of the first to do the website, the forum. So we had a very big forum message board. There was 3 big message boards at the time. It was undergroundhiphop.com,
right,
Hip Hop Infinity, and the Nonprofits Forum, which eventually became the Strange Famous Forum. But that also turned into our web store, and we also would post blogs. Mm-hmm. So it was journalism of some sort. We would post stories, but it was more about just like having an active community, which grew and grew and grew. And a lot of beef came out of that, like some crazy shit. It's a damn shame we had to get rid of that forum because it was riddled with viruses and it was messing up the whole rest of the website. So at a certain point, I think it was like 2007, we just deaded it completely. And now there's no way to access any of the information. If someone can figure out how, I'd love for that to happen. But I'm pretty sure our web guy, who ended up passing away of brain cancer, rest in peace, Danny Brown, he told me that there's really no way to get that material anymore. But we had like well-known rappers and DJs and producers on these forums talking a lot of shit, telling a lot of funny stories. I did great tour recaps on that forum, stuff that's just lost to the ether now. It's very frustrating, but yeah, we grew our website. That's how we built the record label.
But do you feel like you had monetized it to the maximum potential at that time period of what it allowed?
I think so, for what we were working with.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was selling merchandise through the mail early on. People would just send me cash in envelopes with a printout of the stuff that they wanted. And I would just send it to them. It was like an honor system that we worked off of. Eventually became more professional than that. And I don't expect people to send cash through the mail anymore. but that's how much people trusted us or trusted me. I was just a staff of 1 at the time. And then I, grew the staff more, took on more artists. The more I learned about the industry and the more I got my infrastructure in place, the more other artists could benefit from that rather than me just like using it for my own gains. But the industry changed at such a rapid pace. It was very difficult to keep up. And I was also touring almost nonstop through the bulk of my adult years. So, it was either pay attention to one thing or another thing. And like, thankfully I had people to keep the record label and website going while I was touring the world and putting out various projects. But yeah, I no regrets about that. By that time I was done with the whole music journalist thing. I had a career.
Do you remember any of the beefs on the forums that stand out to you that has been lost? Or you can't say?
Some I'd rather not say. I know Slug and I had some skirmishes on the forum. Some playful, some maybe not so much. Like I think I antagonized him a couple times.
But that's your guy, though.
Yeah, it is. It is my guy.
Yeah. So
no, but sometimes it did feel heated.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to ask him about if he remembers any of that. I'm sure he does. But that was just like those communities fostered those kind of interactions. There was flame wars. There was motherfucking flame warriors. Man, some bad shit happened too, stemming from the Hip Hop Infinity message board, which ended up getting Vortal fucked up. This dude, like the kids were talking shit online, and people never know like what's going to happen in real life. And yeah, we saw some of that happen, and that was bad.
Vortal got fucked up.
Yeah. So this was after the Cannibal Locks shit popped off, and somehow he got into a beef with some like psychopath, and at a show he ended up, I mean, I don't want to speak out of school, but like he got hurt really bad, like his head, he got blindsided, and this dude definitely went to jail for that. And I think it affected Vortal's personality and mood moving forward. That's why that may have like put some brakes on the whole Cannibal Locks thing for a while. But I don't know Vortal at all. I've done one show with him in Brooklyn. I wish the best to him, and I'm very sorry that happened to him, because we're all very vulnerable as artists. Because some psychopath like takes something the wrong way, and they want to prove how fucking cool or tough they are. You're not easy to like. It's easy to locate an artist, especially when they're on tour. Like, where they're going to be. So you're kind of always looking over your shoulder and wondering like what someone's angle is.
And you know what? I feel like also like most of the time people that are talking online, it's like nothing's going to happen, but you just never know who's the other person that's on the other side of that computer or screen, or you know what I mean? Like there could be a really sick motherfucker that will do some crazy shit.
It's in the numbers, man. It's a percentage game. Like there's like,
yeah.
It's not far-fetched to think that 1 out of 100 people is a fucking psychopath.
Right. Yeah.
And when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of people, you got a lot of psychopaths that are potentially in your mix.
Mm-hmm. So the following year for Scribble Jam, you went against Origin Owl. Now that battle was a little strange because he started off talking about penetrating your anus, and then he called you a and stuff like that. It was just, I was like, whoa, this is a little too much, Then the second round you went against Slug, right?
Yeah, I actually paid Slug to enter the battle that year.
And then the rematch with you and Brother Ali, and you win again.
Right.
He probably was not happy, huh?
Well, he said, I think that at that point, I finally won his respect. He was like, all right, what the fuck am I going to do? I just lost twice. Like he said, he's never lost a battle before, only to me. So he's like, all right, you got me. Fine. Like I'll no grudges. It was, it really was all love. I didn't want to battle Brother Ali again. I mean, like you win the first time, you wipe your brow and say, all right, next. I don't want to like deal with that again. But again, thankfully.
Well, it's funny because like you even said, you joked about it like right before you started rapping. I think you said like, oh,
like sequels. I love them.
Sequels. Yeah, that's what you said.
I don't really like sequels. I lied.
Right.
But yeah, thankfully I came out on top there. It wasn't very necessary. Like I wasn't going for blood in that battle. That particular Scribble Jam felt more like a party. Really felt more like good times with homies.
I kind of got that vibe from watching you too. Like I felt like you weren't like as locked in with that one.
Yeah, it was very loose. I was like that just wasn't in my energy at the time. And I don't even know who Origin Owl is. He swears up and down he won that battle. I wouldn't have cared either way. Like, fine, you win the battle. Good. Like we had a blast at that Scribble Jam. That we all broed down at that Scribble Jam. That was like, to me, the peak of my favorite era of Scribble Jam. But yeah. So that one, it's weird. Like the footage of it is all dark, right?
Yeah, it's a little, and it's not like, it didn't seem complete. Like you know what I mean?
You don't see a lot of the material.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then like you end up losing to ADeeM. ADeeM was just on his shit in that year. I don't know. Like he just like was going off.
Well, that was his thing. That's literally all he had going for him. He was like very good at freestyling. Nothing else was popping off in his music world. He wasn't really putting out material yet. And he had an advantage in a weird way. Like I spoke before, he knew a lot about me. Like he knew I was actually putting acid in everyone's t-shirts. And the fact that he called that out in that battle could have got me in big fucking trouble. So my mood changed. And I felt like he was throwing me under the bus.
Oh, so he was dry snitching.
Yeah. So, since that moment, I kind of was like, all right, it's like that. Well, watch what happens. I'm just going to do my thing going forward. But, what's crazy is the year before I won $1,000. The year after that, the prize was $10,000.
Holy shit.
The year that I won the Super Bowl battle, the prize was $100. The next year it was $1,000. So I got like a weird, you got the Sage Francis boost.
Yeah. They basically, you helped elevate it each time. So when you're talking about the acid thing, you're talking about when you were selling your merch, you were including acid with each t-shirt.
Yeah, I was putting acid in all the shirts so that it would fuck people up and they would buy more merch. That was the game. That was like, Dibs put me onto that game.
Oh, shit.
And thankfully, I went to the first Scribble Jam. That's where I connected with Dibs and we learned a lot of shit from each other.
And it worked really well.
Yeah, man. I sold out easy.
Wow.
And he was jealous.
Did anybody like come to you like after purchasing a shirt and putting it on? They were like, hey man, I feel weird or something like that?
I was just like, that's the magic of hip hop, baby.
Yo, come on, man. That's crazy, man. Wow. Woo. Okay, so damn, he brought attention to something that was pretty serious. So were you upset? Like really upset when he said that?
No, I was let down. I felt let down.
Got you. Who would you say is the most famous person you've ever battled?
Ooh. I don't have many. I don't know if I have any high profile battles like that. I mean, Slug probably.
Right.
Yeah, I never had.
Jin was there, right? He was there at the Scribble Jam, but he didn't do well. Like,
was he at the 2001 one?
I think he was at the 2001.
Oh, really? Yeah, he was. To me, he was not a good battle MC. He had lines prepared, and a lot of them were about, you mean
like, overall, like throughout his whole career, or you mean just that time?
Yeah. When it comes to like improvised freestyle battle raps, you could tell he had a lot of Asian lines locked and loaded. Like, I know you're going to call me Jet Li, so here's what I'm going to do. Like, I understand that, but it was like a little bit too predetermined, and sometimes it didn't really fit the moment. That was my vibe on Jin at the time. But I don't mean to disrespect. Like, I know he made a good name for himself off of that. But I never feared like having a battle Jin, which I never did. But
gotcha.
Yeah, the only person I feared battling was Idea. That's it.
Right.
That's it. Like people were expecting me and him to battle at Scribble Jam, and I was like, and somehow Mac Lethal beat him, or who the fuck beat Idea? Oh, Brother Ali.
Yeah.
So thank you, Brother Ali.
Yeah, right. So one person I'm surprised to see that you didn't battle though was Apathy, because like you guys were kind of in the similar, areas at the time. He was doing his battle thing, right, in different clubs and things like that. How did that not happen?
Yeah, in fact, he was even going to Rhode Island and battling at our venues.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean.
So by that time, I wasn't involved in rap battles. After 2001, I just let it all go. But I knew Apathy since when I was living in New York in 1999. So he'd pop in around the way. And we always would bump into each other at random spots all over, like in Canada, and we're like random states. And then eventually we end up moving into the same town. But yeah, the closest we came to battling was when he came to my radio show. And, at that time I was battling people on my radio show. So I wasn't sure if that's why he was there. So there's a little bit of aggression here and there, but for the most part, I try to keep it very goofy.
Right.
And light. And thankfully it just was all good. Like nothing like was negative about it, except for maybe some stupid shit I said here and there. But
you could tell it was friendly. It was friendly, and it was competitive a little bit, but it was like wasn't in bad taste.
No, yeah, but I'm saying at that time you really never knew. Like whenever you were in a cipher, it could easily just slip into a battle, like one or two lines. Like, all right, are you taking digs at me, or how about this? That's how it was. So I kind of was like towing the line a little bit, and he was flexing. It was good. It was good fun.
Man, roll the clip.
Last time I saw Sage, we were at the same playground. He lives near me. And every time I run, I love running into him, man. He's a fucking beautiful guy, beautiful human. And we also connect over being dads. And last time we saw each other was at a playground where we bring our kids to play.
Right, I saw that.
We were just talking about dad stuff mostly, you know what I'm saying? Which is hilarious, But it's funny how things come around.
It's the funny thing about that freestyle is that he says, like, I saw an interview with him. He said years later, he was like, it really wasn't that great, but it was the chemistry between you guys going back and forth, and that you guys kept on going that made it so great.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's what it was, though. That's what it felt like. That was the bottom line of what you had to do. It was just like sparring. You know what I'm saying? It was like steel sharpens steel. It was just us staying slick on what we always did. It was the baseline. Like you couldn't be a sucker and be half-assed. You had to at least have that baseline foundation. And it was just us fucking around. And yeah, we weren't saying anything good, man. You know what I'm saying? I said, throw MCs back. He goes, Sage Francis rapping with apathy. And I come in and go, throw MCs back where the scrap should be. It's just whatever. You know what I'm saying?
And shout out to Apathy, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny that you guys ran into each other at the park with your kids and everything.
Yeah. I feel like when that happens, it's almost like it's very awkward in a weird way. Like when you see a teacher out of school or something.
Right.
Like when you see a rapper outside of a venue, it's like you have to like ease into the situation and figure out like, how are we going to do this real life interaction kind of thing? Yeah. And so he's like playing me this like unreleased Pharoah Monch song, which was incredible. And I'm still like obsessed over it. And I don't know what's going on with it, but it's like one of the best hip hop songs I've heard in ages. But yeah, talking about, we both like sharing certain hardships that we've been going through. And it's great to connect. Man, even though we live in the same town, it feels like I can't just call him up and be like, yo, you want to meet down at the cafe and chill for like, cause I just haven't had any time like that. My whole life is go with domestic stuff and kid stuff and sports stuff, and try to sneak in music and work. And I'm guessing he feels the same way because he's got a lot of plates spinning, but now it would be very cool if sometime we could actually chill in a casual environment. And
I would love to see you on the Shorecast.
That's live now.
No. He does. Yeah, he does a lot of different things though. He does the Shorecast, and he does.
Yeah, he was telling me about that
on TikTok. He does like his like Apathy Radio and stuff. That's live. So he does like a lot of different things. And he's also a real estate agent. I
don't know if he's still doing that, but he has like he's a content creator in a way where I'm a Luddite in a lot of ways. Like I don't catch up with technology. This setup I've got right now, it took me a long time. Like he's like He's got a nice microphone. He sounds awesome. His lighting is perfect. His like the whole setup is great.
4K cameras. You're stuck on 720. Come on, Sage. You gotta step it up, man.
It's possible I could change it. I don't know where I would do that. Right. I really miss cassette tapes. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So, it's interesting. At one point, you were living in Brooklyn and you went to Wetlands.
Yes.
Right. I spoke to my bro, Poison Pen, and he said he remembers seeing you around a good amount of times back in the days.
Yeah. We went to Wetlands, SOBs, but Wetlands was the spot for the weekly battles, or maybe it was a bi-weekly battle or monthly. I don't even remember, but some of that is
rights you went to, right?
Yeah. Yes. And some of that is on YouTube. In fact, the kid who beat me, because I made it to the final round, his name was Self, not apathy, not the Self with apathies. Yeah. No, yeah. And I remember because he was a very chubby white kid who looked kind of nerdy or goofy, and people didn't expect him to be dope, and he was dope. He was good. And that, like, the same way the Zalzan character gave me an underdog advantage, that was his advantage. Because you come out looking like people have preconceived notions of you, and then they just get surprised and they get thrown off their game.
Blindsided.
Yeah. So I knew by the round I was with him, I knew he could rap, but I told him, because I was going by Zalzan at the time, and I told him, I was like, oh, fuck. Maybe we were rocking over one of my instrumentals, or he mentioned nonprofits. I was like, yo, before the battle, I was like, I'm Sage. He's like, you're not Sage. Like, yo, I'm Sage. I'm the dude from the Bounce song. That's me. He's like, that's not you, man. And like, it fucking frustrated me so bad. But I don't remember what I ended up saying in the battle, but that just stuck in my craw. I was like, dude, I'm the fucking guy that you like. I'm the guy you were talking about. But that's all I remember from that. Oh, man, no, I remember also battling Immortal Technique there.
Oh, you got to talk about that. Come on.
Yeah, that's on YouTube. Right. So it was a 3-person battle, me, Immortal Technique, and some other guy. And we all had to battle each other. And at that time, Immortal Technique would do some like anti-gay announcements or like stand up against, I don't know what the heck it was, like revolutionary anti-gay. So it'd be like, for all my revolutionaries, or maybe it was just like he was for the revolutionaries, but he also was extremely homophobic, which was common at the time in New York and in the rap battle scene particularly. But so when it was my turn, I started it off by like, I just want to give a shout out to all my gay revolutionaries out there. Keep it bisexual or whatever I say. I just was like, fuck this shit. I was like, fuck all this language. And, I wanted to make a joke of how he was talking, which worked. And I did win that round of the battle. And I probably didn't say anything all that great in the battle, but I did win it.
Was he mad?
He's always had a grimace doesn't seem happy with me whenever I see him. So, but Brother Ali swears up and down he's a very nice guy.
Seem happy with you whenever you see him.
Like, he introduced me at you know what? I shouldn't say that, but back then it was true. It was absolutely true.
Okay.
So he would mean mug me, I just was not welcome. And I was, they looked at us going to the Wetlands as weekend warriors. Like, we weren't really part of the scene. We were just popping in for the battle and then we were out. I understand that. But, but Immortal Technique at Rhyme Fest a couple of years ago, he was the one who introduced me on stage, and he did some very tongue in cheek kind of introduction, but it was respectful and we dapped up and it was nice. Yeah. I want to be friends with him.
But did you ever have any other interactions with him besides then though?
Nah, no, I don't think so.
We can't get a tech song with you, Sage and Tech?
He records about as frequently as I do these days, so.
right.
You know what? I'd be down. I'd be down for that. I would love to try that.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy, man. I think the fans would go crazy. They would literally.
Yeah, and he's I believe he has walked it back a lot with the homophobic stuff. I believe he has declared that he's a different person now, and that wasn't right.
I think most people have, as they've gotten older, in regards to like certain more extreme views and stuff.
Yeah, but he was very extreme. It was like that was his personality in a way. And I had my missteps as well. I was part of that culture. I thought it was normal. Eventually I came around. I'm like, what is this? What am I talking about? Like, why do I care? Like, these people are struggling. They need help. They need like protection. It's like, I'm fucking talking down to disenfranchised folks. No. So I switched my whole shit up pretty early on. I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So was there ever a time that you ever considered going into what battle rap is today as far as like the more modern format?
I never seriously considered it. I see it as its whole other world, a whole other genre. Almost not related at all to battle rap that I came up doing.
It's like two different eras. Like,
yeah,
like
it's different skill
basketball.
sets. It's different skill sets. And I feel like I could do it. Obviously, I feel like, I love spoken word. I love rhymes. I know how to diss people. I know how to make people feel uncomfortable or disrespected.
It's more Shakespearean now though, right?
It's theatrical, man. It's it's WWE. It's
right. Like how good The Rock is at trash talking when he was on stage and stuff like that in the ring. It's kind of like that in that way a little bit. So
I think the main thing is I wouldn't want to put my energy into that kind of thing. I have enough things to take care of. If I'm to dedicate myself to something that will take hours of my time, I'd rather not have it be me dedicating myself to tearing someone else down or making myself look better than someone else. Like, that's not to be sanctimonious. Like, I loved doing that when I did it. At this point in my life, I just feel like I don't have enough time or energy left in me to do it.
Right. Was it in 2000 that you guys did the orphanage freestyle?
Yes. It may have been 2001, but I think it was 2000.
This is like one of the most epic freestyles because of the elite talent in the room. You got Idea, Aesop Rock, Slug, Blueprint, Illogic, and you, of course. DJ Abilities was in the room too, right?
Yep.
Put the beat on.
Yeah.
And can you talk about how that even came about?
So this is when I was on tour with Atmosphere and Idea and Abilities. And there was a break. So I stayed at Idea's house and everyone else had their own spot where they were staying. And then there was an invitation to go on Kevin Beacham's radio show to freestyle. And we were all there. So we're like, yeah, let's do it. And then we went up into the room. There was a big desk with mics all around it. There was a booth where DJ Abilities was. And it was a party, man. It was like all of us were in our element and having a blast and being able to have fun with random freestyles. Nothing's targeted. Nothing's predetermined. It's a jazz session. We're really just bouncing off of one another. Say some stupid, ridiculous shit and the other person could twist it and laugh and make a mistake, but then catch themselves. Like that kind of thing is not ever happening these days. Like you never see
exactly. And I think that's what's so beautiful about that. It really comes through in the audio. You could tell how much fun you guys are having. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like real love for hip hop in that moment. It's like in its purest form. It's
a shame that video cameras weren't as ubiquitous as they are now, because I'd love to see that now.
Right. Exactly. That would have definitely been in some documentary for hip hop.
Oh yeah. And Idea energized that whole thing. Idea was just he's a fucking mic hog. Idea's the mic hog. He's like, you got to battle to get him off the mic just to say a few words. but that's what got everyone's juices flowing and like, oh, we're going here. Some of my favorite stuff is when Idea and Slug do like storytelling freestyles where they just, you know, at one point they started talking about the difference between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And it's beautiful. Like that kind of stuff is, it's natural.
Like having a conversation, but you're doing it in rap form.
Total. That's what it was. That's what it was. And they're the best at it. I've seen them do that several times. It's always my favorite part of a freestyle.
So you weren't a member of the Orphanage, but you toured with them and collaborated. Was there ever any talks about you joining?
Well, I didn't tour with the Orphanage. I only toured with Atmosphere and Idea and Abilities. Mm-hmm. When I was in Mikey's house in the basement, it's actually his mother's house, Kathy. Shout out to Kathy. We were in the basement. That's where he built his studio. That's where they were writing and recording the Orphanage EP. They had already had all of that planned. I wasn't part of the schedule, and they weren't like, hey, you want to, because they were still trying to figure out what they were doing.
Right.
And I don't think they wanted to throw some extra loose cannon into the mix. And you know, like I was cool, very cool with Slug and Idea, but maybe not so cool with Aesop or Logic or Blueprint.
Right. It's hard to have so many chefs in the kitchen all at one time, you know.
And that might be why it didn't take off the ground. I mean, that might be why it eventually just kind of fizzled out, because too many opinions, not enough. I don't know, maybe not like needed one person to steer the ship, and that wasn't what was happening. I really don't know, because I wasn't like intricately involved with it or intimately involved.
So 2001, you released the song Makeshift Patriot, which went viral. Basically at that time, what we would consider viral, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you felt like a lot of people were being temporarily patriotic because of the events of 9/11. And as a result, lots of flag shops were out of stock. People were being patriotic for attention to. How did you come up with the idea to do the song?
I was scared. I saw what was happening in the news was unethical. I had just graduated with a degree in journalism, so it was fresh in my mind. The editorials were crazy. The Islamophobia was crazy. People were mistaking patriotism for nationalism. People were scared to speak up about like what wasn't popular in the mainstream. And I thought, you know, the most patriotic thing I could do is speak the truth right now, my truth and what I see and what I hear, and record this as a document, like a true record of what it was like immediately after 9/11 and all the misinformation that was out there, all the fear mongering that we were dealing with through the news, because everyone was glued to the TV. Everyone was glued to the news, and the news was doing their best to keep them glued and fearmonger and speculate. And like I say in the song, it's like brown people were a target after that. Specifically Muslims, but also Hindus, Sheiks, you know, like every religion that a Christian, average Christian wouldn't know anything about, because they're just fucking generally ignorant about stuff that isn't their particular culture. And I wanted it to be a pressure release for everyone who was feeling the same way I was. And I happened to be in a position to put it all into words, give it an anthem, make music that they can vibe to and stuff to think about. So it just was the perfect confluence of events for me, and to have a way to distribute it through Napster. So, free file sharing, just like put it out there, let the people spread it amongst themselves and see what happens after that.
For the making of that song though, like you collected like basically a lot of like the news reports and kind of arranged it in a certain way, right? In order to make the rhymes work.
Well, yeah, since I was so like glued in onto the news stations, I noticed a repetition of things, and then I started writing all of that stuff down, and oddly worded phrases I just started writing down if I would hear something more than once or twice. And then once I had like a few pages filled, I'm like, all right, how do I fill in the gaps? How do I put it all together? How do I make these rhyme? What kind of rhythm can I do it with? And that's how it all came together. I actually drove to 9/11. Ground Zero. Well, things were still smoking. I wanted to witness the memorials. I wanted to witness what was happening in the streets and record that, get an audio recording for just the energy of it. I wanted to feel the energy. Everything about it I was just obsessed with, and I didn't fall into conspiracy rabbit holes. It wasn't about that. So, people at this point, there's a billion out there, but that's not what I was going with that song. And I think people misinterpreted it as that. And that's really not what it was. It was like really about the death of journalism, like true journalism, trustworthy journalism.
Right. And you were a little upset that musically people weren't coming out yet to speak on it, right? Like and you were like, where's the Public Enemy song? Where's the Rage Against the Machine song? Like,
I did feel that way.
Talking about this?
I did feel that way. I in older age now, I look back, I'm like, that was dumb of me to like feel that way, but I felt frustrated. I was like, because I expect Public Enemy had taught me so much, and this is exactly the kind of thing I would expect them to react on and help me understand or give me a different narrative. And Rage Against the Machine was raging against the machine so hard right up until we fucking got hit. And we started losing all our rights. And then Zach De La Rocca wasn't really to be heard from. And I was like, what the fuck's going on with that? I was like, all right, time for me to step up. Not that anyone knows who I am, but I'm going to do this. So, and I felt it to be very important. I also would say, I'm not going to lie and say I felt safe when I put that out. I also had a big beard at the time. People were confusing me as Muslim, which whatever with that, but it's just like, I didn't know if I had to like worry about my family. I didn't know if I had to worry about like random attacks. But what happened was almost the direct opposite of that. There was like so much people hit me up, flooding in letters of like, and emails of appreciation and like saying thank you for wording it and saying what you said, because I've been going crazy hearing everyone else say what they're saying. And what you're saying is what I think. And it was really good to hear someone else say it. So it gave people a chance to relate and feel like they're not crazy, because it was a crazy time.
Yeah, on the song you rap, it's times like these I freestyle biased opinions every other sentence. My journalistic ethics slip when I pass them off as objective. Don't give me that ethical shit.
Well, music, ethics in journalism was a huge part of my learning in university. Like that was like the backbone of journalism.
Exactly.
And that was gone. And it's been worse ever since. It never recovered.
That was going to be my question to you, is how do you feel that song has aged with time now?
Makeshift Patriot has aged very well. And people are still trying to figure out what happened on 9/11, why it was reported the way it was reported on, why other things weren't reported on. And it's all laid out in the song. So, nothing changes as time goes on. It's there. It's documented. And I'm proud I was able to do that when I did. It's not like I knew for sure I was going to be able to write this song that would continue to remain relevant all these years later. But that was the goal. And that's the goal with a lot of serious music that I do.
Right. I saw you posted on Reddit, which you're very active on, responding to people's comments too. when when they hate on you is pretty funny what you say. Well, you said my whole career has been built on some hear me now, believe me later type shit. I'm rarely loved or appreciated at the hear me now stage, and that's okay.
Yeah. You got to be okay with that. You have to go in fearless. If you're going to speak on sensitive topics that you believe in, and you know that there's a community out there who's going to like be outraged, whether it's performative or not. I find that's the artist's duty. As we might be one of the last bastions of truth speakers out there who, because we're independent, like I'm not owned by any company. Comedians are the same way. But there's people now who are afraid to speak out against Israel and all that they're doing, even though they are independent, because they rely on connections in the industry to get shows and festivals and their manager.
Brand deals.
Yeah.
All that.
So I forego all that and I stick by my guns, and I'm not here to incite senseless, ignorant reactions or flame I'm just here. I try to tread carefully, but I'm going to speak on things that are going to make me an enemy to certain people. And that's just the way it's got to be sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us about nonprofits, right? You and Joe Beats, how did you guys end up meeting?
At the WRIU 90.3 radio station. He was also a radio DJ. We kind of started at the same time. So we were just learning how to do stuff at the station. And he eventually got into record digging and putting together some beats. So he got some pointers from other producers of how to do that. And he used he didn't have a sampler. He used a DAW on a computer, which was like most people never would have messed with for beats, but he was very good at that. And that's how he learned, and that's how he built.
Oh, wow. So he was using the digital audio workstation way in advance.
Yeah, 99. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and he didn't want people to know that because people, he thought, and it was true, like people would say it was nerdy and fake, and that's not what a real producer does.
Oh, you didn't use the MPC. Or
yeah. Oh, you're not pushing buttons, bro. That's not a real beat.
Right.
So he put together a couple really incredible beats that I ended up recording a song called Bounce On and Drop Bass and
Right.
I Keep Calling. And we recorded it in the radio station at first, and it was awful because we're not engineers. And then eventually, our guy Mig, who was like the head DJ, hip hop DJ at that radio station, who took me on and let me be part of his show, he said he wants to start a record label and he would be down to put out a nonprofit single through Fat Beats, because we had connections with DJ Eclipse, who was originally from Rhode Island. So we recorded it in a real studio. I ended up moving to Brooklyn and packaging all the 12 inches in the Fat Beats back room to mail out to all radio stations. So that was the first nonprofits thing, which didn't really pop off at first. But then my mixtape got very big and people started catching on to the nonprofit stuff. And this was this era of hip hop was all about 12-inch singles and college radio. So it was very important to me that we get out a single before the year 2000. Like that was my goal. I was like, I want to be on vinyl before, the turn of the century. So after that, we recorded another single called All Word No Play, which had Whoremonger as the B-side. Whoremonger was the bigger song at the time because it had a sing-along chorus that the crowds could really get into. It was very flippant as far as material is concerned. It was just goofy and fun. Like that was supposed to be the whole nonprofits thing. Punchline rap, fun rap, weird, like irreverent stuff.
Has its quirks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just underground white boy psycho shit sometimes. So yeah, Joe kept building his skill set. We decided to try to do an album. A couple different labels had like sniffed around. Eventually Lex Records, actually Warp Records from the UK, hit us up saying they wanted to put out a Nonprofits album. But first I decided to do a Sage Francis album because I didn't want my whole identity to be wrapped up in the Nonprofit sound. The Nonprofit sound was like a throwback hip hop sound. The Sage Francis material was supposed to be a more progressive, we're moving on to the next thing. So I was like living in both worlds at the time. Anyway, Lex signed us. I don't remember what kind of advance they gave, but I was lacing them. Warp Records, not Lex. So Lex became a subsidiary label of Warp, which was a surprise to me after we had like figured out our stuff. But so Lex was a startup label, subsidiary label, and I was lacing them with tracks. And when I would go to the UK, I would record out there, and they would just put out things on compilation CDs and vinyl. And then we did the Hope album for Lex.
But on Personal Journals, though, he produced Runaways, right?
Right. So I wanted the last song of Personal Journals to be a Joey Beats production to introduce the follow-up album, which was the Hope album.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So that's why I did that. Like he was a little bit miffed about like having to like wait to do the nonprofit stuff, but I think it all played out perfectly the way it did. And he was also not touring at the time. He didn't play anything live. And he kept trying to figure out ways of like being involved on stage. But I was touring relentlessly, and I wasn't not about to bring an extra person on tour with me just cause. And that may have like frustrated him as well. Anyway, so we did the Hope album on Lex. It blew up. It like got like incredible reviews. It was on a short list on Pitchfork.
Complex called it like the 28th best underground hip hop album ever out of 30.
Yeah, and it's a dope album. His production's awesome. What really helps the overall sound of the album is the engineer. His name's Chris Warren, who I worked with on several albums, and he just makes things sound so damn good.
Right, he gets all your little nuances and everything like that.
He's just like got an ear for like the magical sound that like elevates music.
You went to his studio in San Diego, right? They gave him a blank check.
So he's a music or a sound professor at University of San Francisco, and you get a blank check to build his own floating studio.
San Francisco or San Diego?
San Diego.
Right.
So it was like a spaceship. I can't really explain what that was all like, but he's still like exploring really crazy stuff in the realm of sound science. Mm-hmm. So that did well. We toured on that. I brought him on tour for that. That was a tough tour. That was a very tough tour. In fact, I thought I was ready to quit everything after that tour.
Why is that?
About 3/4 of the way through the tour, I really messed up my vocal cords. I had a nodule and polyps, and I couldn't actually speak. And I had to go to a doctor, and they checked my throat, and they were like, if you keep doing this, you're going to lose your voice forever. And I was just exhausted. I had to take a day off to like rest my voice. I was like, of course I'm going to finish the tour. Like, there's no way I'm not going to finish this tour. I just had to fight through it, which is dumb, but I did it. I did it like that. But there's a billion things that went wrong on that tour that were not of my doing. And that frustrated me because I run a tight ship. And there was things that happened with Joe Beats that I let him know I don't know if I said it out loud. In my head, definitely was like, I am never doing anything with you ever again. I don't like rock with this kind of person. I don't I don't feel comfortable around you. It's not what I want to do. And I won't give specifics. It's just, that's how I ended up feeling. And if anyone can track him down and needs to get that story from him and he can explain himself, That's his story to tell, I guess. But that was it for me. And also that was it with Lex, because Lex did fuck all. Like, we put that record together. We got the praise. They didn't put out a fucking video. They didn't do like any extra work for it. They ended up putting out a single that, like, we had Doom on the flip side. No, on the A side. He did a beat. It wasn't even a rap. We could have gotten the rap, but we got the beat. That wasn't my decision. That was dumb. Anyway, yeah. So they never ended up pressing more vinyl or CDs. Like, a great loss of money overall. Like an incredible amount of money could have been made on that album that just was left on the table just because they gave up on it. And they also knew I didn't fuck with them anymore. And I didn't like my interactions with them. And I spoke about it publicly. He told me to stop talking about it. Lex, the guy at Lex did. I didn't stop. And I was like, all these years later, this year, someone emailed me asking me about this guy at Lex, saying, yo, I'm an artist that was signed to Lex and they're fucking me over. And they gave me the breakdown. I was like, yep, well, good luck with that. This is like, I'm far removed from that situation. I couldn't believe it though.
Wasn't that so disappointing though for you? Like, I mean, like, you guys had just made a classic album together, and then, but I guess that happens a lot, right? Where you work with somebody and it's magical in the studio or whatever, but maybe personally there's some differences.
There was personality differences. Very, like, we just didn't get along. I could not vibe with the cat. There's certain people like that where, like, I don't want to speak on it in specifics because then I'm going to call them out for shit that might sound degrading, but it's not. We're not the same kind of person. And the people I work with in music are very different. And they're like that. Like, I build my community with a certain type of person that I trust. And I think I can always trust. So with him, he also gave me weird ultimatums, and I wasn't down with that. He's like, he had apparently produced a whole other album's worth of beats. And he was like, I'll only give it to you if you promise to, like, do one more project with me or something like that. I can't even remember. I just remember being so infuriated at how he approached that. I was like, no, fuck you. Like, we're never doing shit ever again. And good luck. Like, you're free. Like, go ahead, work with anybody else you want. There's a reason. All these years later, as talented as he is, there's a reason why he's not putting out like stellar albums with other MCs. So that's on him. Like, he could have done that.
It's unfortunate too, though, because he's from Rhode Island too, right?
Yeah.
Right. So then it's kind of like you guys were from the same place, made a classic album together. Ideally, you guys would continue to work together. But do you think that he felt some way that you made him wait to put out the Nonprofits album, and he was afraid you were going to leave him behind once you started doing the solo thing?
Maybe, but that was a span of several years. That's from 1999 to 2004. And I had been touring the world since 1999. I started like traveling internationally since then and performing relentlessly. And he saw the work ethic that I had. It's all documented in older interviews. He admired it, and he knew that he benefited from it. He knew that what I was doing, nothing was going to jump off without me doing everything that I was doing. It was reliant on my work ethic. So, had our situation been better, had we gotten along, there's no reconciling certain things. But in a parallel universe, yeah, that would have been cool. I don't know.
You could have definitely had more classic albums. Yeah, I totally understand though. I mean,
I don't know if I could have. I don't know how long I would want to keep doing that nonprofit sound. Like that, to me, that was a concept project. That was like that was a love letter to hip hop. The Hope album is my love letter to hip hop.
Well, did you make that clear to him that like you didn't want to continue to do that sound?
We did. No, that was his sound.
But that's what I mean though. Like you made it clear to him that like, hey, this is not like what I'm putting all my chips in for my career. Like this is what's gonna be like my main thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, all I remember, all I remember is like asking him if he could do a different type of production style, and I would show him something that's outside of like his realm. He's like, no, I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm like, all right. It really wasn't a conversation. A lot of it was business stuff. It wasn't about aesthetics, although I know I couldn't continue to do like Hope style music because I don't want to keep rapping like that. I liked to do that one thing. But business wise, he really fucked me over in a few ways. And that's personal finance and business relationship stuff between me, him, and Lex Records.
Yeah, for sure. I understand, man. But ideally, like you said, I mean, you could have at least did a sequel years down the line or something like that. That would have been cool. But yeah, for sure, I understand. Like that wasn't like what you wanted to build your sound off of long term. All right, so can you talk about personal journals? Like, what was your mindset when you were making that album?
My mindset was personal journals might be the only album I officially put out ever. I don't know if I'll ever have this opportunity again. So throw everything at it. Show everybody every style that I can rock. Do the live stuff, like have a live track in there. Show that you have a live band. Do the deeply personal stuff. Do the different like
you
double
had
time
for
styles.
Everybody on that album.
Yeah, so it's just all over the place, but the rawness of it, I think, makes it cohesive. But I just loved working with so many different producers and DJs, and including people on it who I had like recently met through Scribble Jam, actually. So it's just like, and through the tour circuit. And obviously I'm the only MC on the album, but there's a lot of contributions on personal journals. And it was recorded over a period of time. Half of it was done in the Bay Area, part of it. The other half was done in Rhode Island.
Why the Bay Area?
That's where Anticon was based out of at the time. They had a warehouse.
Got you.
And Soul invited me out. So I flew out there to record because they all lived, it was like a commune. They all had like their own quarters and the recording setup. So I recorded myself and I mixed myself there. I waited around a long time for beats. Like producers, I think, were like, I don't know about this guy. But eventually I ended up getting the beats that were necessary to put together the first 12-inch, which was the Climb Trees with Inherited Scars and Message Sent. And I think that was ready for Scribble Jam. And then the album came out after that. Like the second Scribble Jam I was at. So, yeah. So working with them, they had been grinding it out for a few years and building their brand and developing a sound that I compromised a little bit because I think I was too conventional in sound for what they had in mind for the advancement of hip hop. But I had an audience and they saw that I was selling crazy units of my mixtapes, like crazy. And they knew that people were saying my name left and right. And they had a distribution service. They had publicity all worked out. So they had the machine in place that if they just put out an album from an artist people are aware of and want more of, they might make a lot of money from that.
This will win for sure.
And they did.
Yeah.
And that was the highest selling record on Anticon for sure.
How do you think that environment with the commune and everything, the way that things were set up, inspired you to record those songs during that time? Did it have a big impact?
it was a very artistic space, so that helped. It's like cool to be in an environment of artists, all of them doing their own weird shit. And you also can have your private space if you need to and record in your own room. All of that helped, I'm sure. But I didn't really know how to record myself very well. So it was like trial and error, and me doing 50 takes of one verse. I remember Inherited Scars. I almost punched a hole through the wall.
Oh shit.
And I remember doing Climb Trees was the last beat that I got while I was in the Bay Area was from Gel of themselves for Climb Trees, which is very cool. Like he's following my patterns in my verses with the drums. And I'm recording this and recording it and I'm listening to it. I'm like, God, it doesn't sound right. And then finally someone comes in the room who's like, the microphone is backwards. So they turn the microphone and I'm like, then I was so frustrated. I was like, you know what? I don't need this song. I don't need this song. And they were like, no. This is the coolest fucking song you've done yet. Like you have to do this song. So I'm glad I did. I pushed through. I ended up getting that one finished and, went home with some really cool material to share with friends and get their vibe on it. And they're like, ooh, this is the dopest shit you've done. Like, this is incredible. So that inspired me to just keep pushing and doing more stuff at the Rhode Island studio until it was all put together. And at the 11th hour, I'm in Kinko's fucking writing my liner notes on little pieces of paper to mail off to Nostom so he can put together the record sleeve and the artwork. Man. Yeah, I remember the mad rush it was at the end for me to like get it out when it was supposed to be out. And that record was pushed by Nasty Little Man, a publicity company in New York City, actually right next to 9/11, where 9/11 happened.
Ground Zero. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I actually visited their office when shit was still in rubbles. And it was crazy that they were still operating, but they were. And I went up there to speak with them. Come full circle, Mike D. All right, so the Beastie Boys album, Hello Nasty, is called Hello Nasty because Nasty Little Man would answer the phone, Hello Nasty. So they were like working with Beastie Boys. So this guy showed Mike D my Personal Journals album and he like scrunched his face like, this ain't hip hop. So Mike D was not a fan of the Personal Journals album. It's like, it's just too unconventional for his tastes when they were doing like very throwback 80s cadences.
Right. So the song Eviction Notice, you rap, there's effort in her smile and it shouldn't be that way. Her last days are being snuffed out in an ashtray and that's priceless. Trying to intercept the passing away of Asked Nicely. So what inspired this song in particular?
Oh, I think a lot of childhood turmoil came to the surface. I think the sound of the beat evoked that. But the narrative is all over the place with that song. It's not about one person. It's not about one situation. It's not about one relationship. Part of it is about my mom, me like begging her to stop smoking in the house or smoking at all, which I was relentless about. Like back then, everyone smoked everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just those memories. And also there's a part of it where my mom kicked my stepdad out of the house, which was troubling for me. It was a very dramatic event. So that's in the song. There's also a part of the song where I'm saying, please pick me. And that was about when my stepdad first moved into the house and I wasn't feeling having another male figure in the house. It was me and my mom and I wanted her to pick me over him. So there's like so many things that are littered in the lyrics of that song. There's a lot of
layers to the song.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a bad dream.
But it's interesting though, because I'm glad that I was right, because that was my interpretation of the song though. That
yeah, no one's ever asked me about that. It's it's some of it is about my relationships as well, but I think the things that really stick are the childhood memories and how I tiptoe around certain objects and how I learned the landscape of a household that's might be a little like walking on eggshells-y.
Right. Where you were talking about like standing right next to the landline, right? Basically. Yeah, for sure. I think that like one of your greatest strengths is the way that you phrase things, like your word choice in the order that you choose to place them. It's very careful.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just like you could easily write it like very direct or something like that, but the way you do it is very, I don't know if you want to say artsy, avant-garde, you know, how you want to describe it, but it's like it's very different from a lot of MCs.
Yeah, I'm very particular about the placement of words and where they are in a sentence. When I have a lot of time to think about it, when I'm writing, like I see all the options and I get to shuffle stuff around and then see how to set up and knock it down. And that's the funnest part of writing for me. Or one very fun part of writing. But yeah, since college, that's what I've been working on and experimenting with and building upon.
So in 2004, you went on the Fuck Clear Channel tour. Now, what was the real issue with Clear Channel?
Clear Channel was buying up venues all over the country. And they were also in charge of radio stations, playlists, owning radio stations. And it was compromising local scenes left and right the same way. Like Clear Channel turned into Live Nation. Live Nation does the same exact shit. It's like new boss, same as the old boss. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do my biggest national tour, call it the Fuck Clear Channel Tour, and see how it goes. So I avoided Clear Channel venues, almost all of them.
But two.
What was the two?
I don't know, but you said that in the past that there was two of them that you went to. One of them that you put a $500 Fuck Clear Channel shirt out.
Nice. So check it. See this poster right here? That was for that show.
Oh, shit.
So that was the Fillmore poster. And it was a Clear Channel venue, and it's a legendary venue. And when we went in there and to set up our merch, they insisted that their staff sells our merch. I was like, I don't want you guys touching my merch. You don't really know our merch. We do it every night. They're like, no, well, you can't do it then. We're not going to do it. So I said, all right, you know what? Here, you can sell this one shirt. It was a Fuck Clear Channel shirt. It said Fuck Clear Channel. And I said, this is $500. So that's what you have to sell it for. She was like, oh, how dare you disrespect your fans like that? I just laughed.
The venue manager, right?
Yeah, or the like merch manager. I have no idea. It's just, she was so pissed off. But the issue was like, if you're going to make this a thing and you're going to take a merch cut, I'm going to make you embarrass yourself. Embarrass yourself by selling a shirt for $500, and you're just going to stand there all night. You know, like, just let me sell my own shit. Get away from me. Not to disrespect the legendary Fillmore, but that's how it went down. And then I went out to the van, I remember, and my booking agent called me, and he was like, and he asked me if that just happened. I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're not going to believe this. They have agreed to let you sell your own merch with no merch cut. I have never heard of that happening ever at the Fillmore.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
So that was a big win.
But that tour overall, I've heard you say, was like a nightmare. It was a lot of problems, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had my throat issues on that tour, like bad. And then I had two guitar players. One of them just left when I was in Miami Beach shooting a photo shoot for the Herb magazine cover. Like, I had to leave for one day. I leave for one day. I come back. He's gone. And that was like half of our set. Like, half of the set was with instruments. Half the set was just beats. And I was like, this motherfucker, man. And then like we tried to figure it out. And then we played that one show in Detroit where the promoter tried to leave without paying. Like,
oh shit.
I was done my set. I go backstage. There's a little note like, "Hey, Sage, so you didn't like fulfill your contract because you weren't playing with who you said you were going to play with. So no, have a good day." So then I posted his number and email address on my web forum, on the nonprofits forum. He got hundreds of phone calls. I told people to just go at him. And he ends up calling me back, leaving a very drunk voicemail, which you can hear on the a Healthy Distrust album. And the name of the song is called Voicemail Bomb Threat. So I put his voice over a Joe Beats production on that. And I never heard from him since, and I got paid anyways.
That's crazy. Wow. And your lawyer instructed you to not do the tour, right?
Not my lawyer, my doctor did.
I thought I read somewhere that you said something like you were advised by your lawyer not to speak about the tour or speak on the situation about Clear Channel.
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't know. That totally could have happened.
Well, yeah, we are talking about things that happened 20 years ago, so it's hard to remember every little detail.
Yeah.
All right. What made you sign with Epitaph Records, which is a punk rock label?
A lot of hip hop labels were sniffing around. If you were a talented white MC after Eminem blew up, every label was like, "We got to find our Eminem." Or something akin to that. That's a cash cow. We need it. So I had been in contact by a few different labels, none of which passed the sniff test for me. Like, I didn't feel comfortable with their approach. And my ethics also didn't jive with what theirs were as far as hip hop's concerned. And I had already dealt with a label that I was frustrated by, and I didn't want to fall into that trap again. So actually we were working with them at the same time, but Epitaph, I was like, I had all the Punkorama CDs. I was into punk rock music. And they approached me. They came to my shows in California. They saw how I was rocking, and they were like, "Hey, this reminds," like the president, Andy Calkin, he's like, "This reminds me a lot of how we started out as a record label with the artist and the scene and the ethics. You're selling merchandise out of your suitcase. You're speaking your mind unapologetically. You're political, socio-political, and like, we dig it. We'd love to work with you." They offered to put out Makeshift Patriot on one of the Punkorama CDs. Now, if you don't know what Punkorama is, they were super cheap compilation CDs with tons of music on them. And not hip hop, but Makeshift Patriot was on one of the Punkorama CDs after that. And to this day, every single show that I perform, there's somebody, more than one person, telling me that they learned about me from the Punkorama CD, Makeshift Patriot. It's from that. And I was like, dang, like, I had no idea it was going to like spread that far and wide and have that much of an effect on people. Cause they were like, this was also the first time I learned hip hop was more than just, shoot 'em up and bitches and whatever like their misconstrued idea of hip hop was, and open them up to underground hip hop. So I get that comment a lot. But anyway, yeah, with Epitaph, they said, "Listen, we see what you're doing. We see what you're selling. We can get you in front of a lot of more faces in a lot more stores. It'll sell. If you can do whatever you want. Like, you make the album you want. We won't have any say in it. You finish it, give it to us. We put it out." And that was good enough for me. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, although I didn't like giving up ownership of an album, it was well worth it to do it for that first album, which was A Healthy Distrust, which continues to be my most popular album as far as streams goes, and probably record sales. But that's how all that happened. And I vibed with Andy from Epitaph. We got along very well. His assistant, Jolene, I worked close with her. Rest in peace to Jolene. She was a beautiful soul and funny person. And she was ride or die for me. Like when someone's ride or die for you, you can tell. And like, it's not fake. Like they really dig what you're doing.
Right.
You know, and that boosted my morale. It was good.
And then also, you know, you've said in the past that hip hop and punk rock have a lot more in common than people believe.
Yeah, they do. And they did. I mean, in the mid to late 80s, they emerged, their styles emerged out of troubled areas, people who were acting out and being nonconformist, speaking truth to power. They played shows together. They shared venues before it splintered off and became just one thing and just another thing. I got big into the first time I got into punk rock and hardcore was in 96, a transformative year for me. I was going to hip hop shows. I was going to hardcore shows, and I, for the first time, witnessed the DIY ethic of people making their own product, selling it hand to hand, putting out their own zines and magazines, and being a self-contained culture of like-minded people. And because everything up until then, I had thought like things need to be pristine. A major label like needs to put a lot of money behind something for it to be official. And I gave up on all that at that point. So I just was like, that's why I started putting out the Sick of mixtapes. I was like, why am I holding back all this material just because it doesn't sound as good as what's on the radio, like sonically? Like I'm doing stuff that no one else is doing on a lot of this shit. It's like, this should be heard. So, as far as I know, I'm the first MC to put out that style of mixtape. It was always DJs who would put out mixtapes that included other rappers on it and get exclusive verses. So I decided to do that for myself. And that's how I built Strange Famous Records. That really is what financed everything moving forward. That's how I was able to like do everything after that and quit my job at Ben & Jerry's.
For sure. So in 2005, you released the album, A Healthy Distrust. What was your mindset going in with this album?
Ooh, well, that was the first album on Epitaph. It was, I had lost my voice on the tour before, and I thought I had ruined my whole chance of like having a career moving forward because of that. And I let Epitaph know. I was like, I think you got damaged goods now. But thankfully everything worked out. But I was working with top tier producers at the time. Reanimator, who's not really doing much anymore from what I know. He's always kind of been a person who exists in the shadows. He laced me with so much dope stuff for that album. And so many layers to what he's doing in his production. And thankfully I had Chris Warren as the engineer to make it all like sound the way it needed to sound. So it was just like, I don't know, I leveled up as far as overall sound and production. And I was very political at the time. I was quite sick of the Bush era. I was quite sick of the wars that we were getting tricked into. So that comes out on the album, but there's also whimsical stuff on that album. And I thought it was funny to end the album like the first, hip hop artist signed to a punk label and have a tribute to a country artist. So, like to me, there was just layers to that made me happy. So I don't know. I was recording some stuff on the fly, like writing it just before getting to the studio and laying it down. Other stuff that I had been chopping away at for maybe 5 or 6 years, or more. And it all culminated in that one project, which to me I knew was going to be the biggest project of my career to date. So Yeah. And even back then, it was like a lot of money was put into this, but videos weren't a huge thing. This was the first time I ever did a music video. So we didn't have a music video for Sea Lion, which is the most popular song on the album, but we had one for Escape Artist. And back then, it was like you had to work with a real film crew. There weren't smartphones. And video editing was not as ubiquitous as it is today.
It's a whole production.
Yeah, it was a whole production. And yeah, that video cost $10,000 to make. And so that's why there's so few videos back then for, even popular songs, as far as, when you think about underground hip hop.
Right. So the song Slow Down Gandhi, crazy that it's 20 years old and the issues discussed is still relevant today. How did that song come about?
Yeah, I mean, we've come full circle, I guess. Not a whole lot has changed. We're still, going to war over oil, and other things. But, so this is after Makeshift Patriot. This is after another song of mine called Hey Bobby. And this is me just fed up with the military industrial complex. And, I guess I wanted it to be a call out to people of a certain age who might want to join the military, to rethink that and to get people thinking about why we're at war, what the war is being used for, what kind of people get recruited into the military and why. So I guess that was the driving force behind me writing that song. And the whole Slow Down Gandhi thing was like a tongue in cheek. It's like every time you try to do something altruistic, they're like, okay, Gandhi. All right, Gandhi. Like you can't ever do something good without people saying that you're virtue signaling somehow. So that's what the whole Slow Down Gandhi thing's all about. And also a callback to the EPMD song.
Mm-hmm. And then you rapped, making you think you're crazy is $1 billion industry. If they could sell sanity in a bottle, they'd be charging for compressed air and marketing healthcare. They demonize welfare, middle class eliminated, rich get richer till the poor get educated.
Right.
How do you think that song has aged?
Sadly, very well. And again, when I talk about the type of people who get recruited into the military, it's often from low income households, low income neighborhoods, people
lack of opportunities.
Yeah, lack of opportunities. They feel like it's their only chance to get out and do something positive with their lives. That's kind of what's been fed into them, and a lot of them come back home very damaged, and all the things that they were promised don't come to fruition a lot of the time. So, yeah, we're still in that age where people haven't completely wised up to the whole thing. And we are constantly being made to feel like the military is to be revered and, oh, thank you for your service. Thank you for you talk to enough soldiers though, they kind of roll their eyes like, oh, okay.
So you don't think that the soldiers like hearing that?
Not all of them, and not a lot that I've spoken to or read from. I think they kind of just feel like they've been duped, a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, when you take a look at like the homeless population and how big of a percentage of them, come from having served and suffering from a drug addiction as a way to cope with their PTSD and everything like that, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I don't mean to piss off active military or ex-military. I've had encounters at shows and even outside of shows, because I had actually in 2005, maybe it was 2004, but a fan of mine who was serving overseas sent me the camouflage jacket with patches on it. And I kind of wore it. It's in my main profile pic. Ever since 2005, I've been using that for most of my profile pictures on social media. And people are like, why the hell are you wearing that? And I just was like, you know what? This is kind of a head nod to all the fans of mine who I hear from who are in the military, who have expressed regret, and they thank me for speaking out about it. And yeah. But yeah, the military, there's all kinds of people in the military, just like any other thing. There's crazies, there's smart people, there's very aggressive people, there's peaceful people. But yeah, I don't want people thinking I'm like shitting on soldiers who serve in the line of duty and have put their lives at risk or had friends that died. But sometimes, not just sometimes, it just needs to be addressed in general. And yeah, the whole rich get richer till the poor get educated. Like once we start wisening up to all of that, I don't think you'll see any change until that happens.
Mm-hmm. And then you have like a funny story with your grandma where she invited you to an anti-war protest in Newport, Rhode Island. Can you talk about that?
Right. So at the end of it was like a march. At the end of the march, we all ended up at some kind of Elks Lodge or something. And it was an open mic and people were reading their material. And one thing that annoyed me back then was protesters who were trying to relive the hippie age of the Vietnam protests with the flowers and Peace Man. And, you know, it's like wearing the John Lennon glasses. It's like they were trying to shoehorn that into this. And I got real fed up. And this woman was talking about how if she was stuck inside of a gas chamber, the last thing she would do is sing Kumbaya. I just was like, oh my God. So I went up right after her and I said, you know what I would do if I was stuck in a gas chamber? I'd be slamming the fucking door saying, get me the fuck out of here. And then I did Slow Down Gandhi a cappella. But that was just, and my grandmother got a huge kick out of it. My uncle too, rest in peace. But they saw, it just was like, I shook up the whole room because the energy was all kind of like too soft. It was, like it wasn't, I couldn't take it seriously. It's like, you're all playing roles. This is not real. Like, let's really talk real shit right here. So that happened. And yeah, that was probably the last time my grandmother took me to a social event with people she knew.
Well, don't forget that you actually bought that lady's CD for $20.
Yep.
To try to smooth things over, and she still wasn't having it.
Nope. Yeah, I so regret that, man. I was like, you know what? Like, I know she felt like a clown, and she felt embarrassed, and I wasn't there for that. So I was like, hey, I'll buy your CD. I'll check your stuff out. And she sold it for $20, a burned CD. It's crazy. And that was, 20 years ago. I mean, these days that would be like a $50 CD.
Exactly, for sure, man. So in 2007, you put out Human to Death Dance. It's a fan favorite. Some have considered it your best work. What inspired you to write going back to Rehab?
All right. Well, first of all, that was the first album that kind of got hated on that I released, the first studio album. In retrospect, it's not looked at like that. But, and here's a case of live by the internet, die by the internet. Back then you had to submit, an album 4 months early to media outlets in order to get publicity. So this album leaked 4 months ahead of its release. So everybody downloaded it off of LimeWire and Napster and Kazaa. So by the time it actually hit the stores, it was old news for the fans who were chomping at the bit for another Sage Francis project. So the sales took a huge hit. It really didn't get much media response at all. It was like the honeymoon was over. I already had my first album on Epitaph. Here's the second one. They weren't really sure what angle to go at with their coverage of it. And Epitaph wasn't entirely sure how to push it because it wasn't as socio-political as A Healthy Distrust. I took a more personal approach on this, talked about personal matters, and going back to Rehab, probably the heaviest track on the album as far as that's concerned. Where I guess so the song is about exploring what it is to be an addict, to understand the addict, under the surface, I suppose. I don't know if, I mean, does it come across that way to you? I haven't really spoken to many people about going back to rehab.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
But
So
I think that people weren't sure if it was very personal or if you were just writing with like, artistic freedom, like exploring the topic, or if it was like a personal story that, you knew people, a personal experience, that type of thing.
Yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I had spent way too many years on this earth very angry and upset and confused because of drugs and what it did to people. And I blamed it on my lack of a relationship with my biological father. And it also affected other people in my personal life. But to me, it was like, instead of living in so much anger, try to understand it more and try to put yourself in their shoes. And that's a big part of it.
For sure, man. And when you talk about the actual, well, in the song, right? I mean, there's like a lot of like religious references throughout.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning for that? Were you trying to give that vibe that people turn to God during those times when they're trying to get clean, or?
Yeah, that's a mix of the AA stuff, the God stuff that's in AA, but also my father was like oddly religious, but it was because his mother, my grandmother, is an all-out atheist, completely. Card carrying atheist. And I don't know, him turning into because it wasn't a regular subsect of Christianity. It was like, so this is the speaking in tongues religion where people speak in tongues, and they congregate not in churches, but in like apartments. And I was exposed to that, and it really creeped me out. So all of that stuff is just always in my head. It always comes out in my writing. A lot of religious text and ideas and imagery are littered throughout all my work. Although I wasn't like a church goer, and I just was always aware of it just because it's omnipresent. All Christianity, like I kind of came up in a Catholic town, but I was a Protestant, and my grandmother was Catholic. My grandfather was Protestant, but my mom didn't really force religion on me. She tried for a little while. I think she was like, this is boring.
Is a song like Going Back to Rehab one that you try to avoid listening to because of the darkness, the dark energy that it reminds you of that inspired that art piece?
No, I mean, I don't really listen to my music much at all. I used to a lot. But I really do like going back to songs like that because it reminds me of stuff. It kind of transports me back to certain times and places that inspired certain lyrics or an idea and a feeling. And it's just like to remember what I went through and what I did to address it. And it's like a weird conversation I have with myself when I listen to my music. So I do enjoy listening to those kind of tracks, but not casually.
What has the impact been on fans? Have fans talked to you about that song, like telling you like how much a difference it made for them hearing something like that?
Yeah. I don't know if they ever pinpoint that song, but I mean, I've had people give me their like 1 year sober anniversary chips and stuff like that. And people just tell me that, what I've written has meant a lot to them, and just to hear certain thoughts expressed that they hold within, and not everyone's able to communicate it, and it, they develop a deep connection to a certain track or album. Yeah.
Now, when you talk about that album, Human the Death Dance, leaking onto the internet, what was your immediate reaction when you discovered that happened?
I was pissed off. I was pissed off. And I was pissed off that people even on my message board were like sharing links to it and shit like that. And I was like, this is my livelihood at this point. Like, you're really messing with my ability to like continue this career. And I didn't see how people were so cavalier about it. And
especially as an independent artist, you're not getting this crazy advanced like major artists or anything like that. Like, this is, you're, really grinding it out here.
Yeah. So my love-hate relationship with the internet was at peak levels at that point. And I knew it hurt my relationship with Epitaph, because the crazy dip in sales when there was no actual, no need for people to go to the store to get it. They already had it, and it was already old news to them. So they're like, when's the next shit? When's the next shit?
Right.
And that album also, what's crazy, I probably had 2 years worth of writing in a notebook. And I had a very bad breakup with my girlfriend who was living with me. And I was like, I gotta get out of this house. Like, I can smell her, like her scent is in this house. It's in the sheets. It's like, it's driving me crazy. I'm leaving. So I left. I flew to Europe for like 2 weeks. I stayed in Amsterdam. I was just like doing whatever. I was just going, writing. I was trying to learn guitar. I was like having this, it might've been a midlife crisis. I don't know. But, I ended up having my bag stolen, which had my notebook in it, along with my passport, my cash, and my credit cards.
Shit.
Yeah, so I'm all alone in Amsterdam. Someone stole all my shit out of a cyber cafe. I'm the dummy. Like, I wasn't paying attention. It just got yanked, right? So I had to go to the embassy and work all of that out. But then I felt like I was, all the things that I had put to page I couldn't recreate that. Like, once I put it down, it's not like it stays in my head. So I had to start from the very beginning to write this album. And the first song I wrote for it was Clickety Clack, which is a revenge fantasy about whoever stole my shit. And yeah, so building that all up after, having the breakup, having all my stuff stolen, then finally getting the album done and having that leaked online, so everyone just stealing the album. I was at a low. I was like not in the best headspace for that.
Right. So there's it's a possibility that there's a Sage Francis notebook that exists somewhere if somebody decided to hold on to it.
Yeah, but it was just a thief, man. He probably just threw the bag in the trash and took the passport and the cards. And, like, I searched many trash bins to see if I could find it, but yeah, no luck.
That's crazy, man. So in 2010, you released the Life album, and you took a really different approach with this album. Can you talk about what inspired the title for the album?
Yeah, so a lot of people were getting tattoos of my lyrics, and the most popular one was the Life with the F in parentheses, because that comes from the nonprofit song The Cure, where I say life is just a lie with an F in it and death is definite. So I wanted to bring that concept, take that name, the spelling of life, apply it to a project, and tie in a whole lot of things, including having Shepard Fairey do the cover art, because my Strange Famous logo, this thing right here, was inspired by his Andre Has a Posse campaign. Are you familiar with the Andre Has a Posse, like the sticker campaign?
Yeah.
Which then turned into Obey. But so he started out in Providence, So those stickers were everywhere, and I was always seeing the same imagery. And that's why I always ended up just keep reusing this image, which was a silhouette of my facial hair. And it was my last album with Epitaph. And I told them, you know what? I mean, you guys gave me carte blanche to do whatever I want on any album. And this is the last time I'll be working with you. I think what might be cool is if I utilize resources that you have that I would not have access to otherwise. So we reached out to all the bands, not only that were on Epitaph Records, but also who were on the same roster as me through Cork Agency, which ended up being Agency Group or Agency, my booking agency. So they had a lot of like metal bands, rock bands, and alternative artists. And so I just started harvesting demos from these people. And I told them, don't send me something you think a hip hop artist would like. Like, don't try to make a beat. Just send me the music that you make, and I'll show you like what I can do over that music. And I contribute the hip hop part of it, and you don't have to worry about that. So don't pander to the hip hop artists. Let me float on top of your music and see if I can make it something unique. So that's what we did there. Unfortunately, we worked like, it didn't come out as great as I wanted it to be. I let go of the reins too much. Brian Deck is the producer of that album. He also does Modest Mouse and a lot of different bands in Chicago. That's where we recorded it. So I spent a month in Chicago recording it at the studio. And instead of using the demos or the artists who played on the demos, he assembled a whole new band who ended up coming up with new arrangements for every song. And that is not what I expected. I just kind of went with the flow, and it wasn't like I was more into the demos than I was the album versions. But and it also was the most expensive project I will ever do, and I ever did. That cost over $100,000 to make.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So to pay the producer for his involvement, to pay the studio musicians for a month, to rent the studio for a month, everything that went into it, the mastering, everything was at least $100,000. What I didn't know, because I kind of was like, all right, well, we're going for it. We're doing something we never did before. Maybe we'll come to like a wonderful conclusion that we couldn't have reached otherwise. But I didn't know that money ate into my previous albums. So I would not see profits from my previous sales until that $100,000 was recouped. I done goofed. If I had to do it all over again, I would not do it like that. In fact, the most popular song on the album, The Best of Times, is the one song that was not recreated in the studio. It was the original music sent to me by Jan Tiersen. He's a composer. And it was, he sent it the day before the last recording session. So they didn't have time to rearrange it. They didn't have time for the instrumentalist to replay music. I just went off of that demo, and that's what we used for the final version. And it came out to be like the best possible thing that could happen for that album, because I don't know if that album would survive on any level without that piece to really tie everything together and give kind of, I don't know, usher in a new kind of era of hip hop where you can talk over music that doesn't have drums on it. And then it can culminate and then crescendo. And it's just such a beautiful piece. And I'm really lucky I was able to write what I did the night before so I could record it the next day. Because up
it's
until
definitely
that point,
one of my favorites of yours. That song, like, it was the best way to close out the album too. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of, like, I felt like it was like a window into your childhood, you know?
Yeah, and it was all things I never would have expected to say on record or write about. And like, who the hell's going to care about this? And who's going to relate to this? And then oddly, it's like, everyone's like, you're writing about my life, man. I was like, are you serious? Like, these very specific, awkward moments of my life resonate so hard with so many other people.
Because I feel like you're talking about like very difficult times in your childhood, yet there's this like vibe of this innocence still about the song that you're taught, the experiences and everything. It's pretty, I guess, in line with what childhood is. It's like, you think that you know everything, you're going through the worst things, but you're really not though. Like you don't know anything about life yet. You just know what you know. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. To you, everything that's bad that happens is the worst thing that's ever happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, on the song you rap, the walls of my house were paper thin. Every squabble seemed to be deafening. And it's just like the way that you phrase the stuff. I don't know, man. Like I definitely see why so many people relate to it. But, in the past, you've talked about you kept listening to the beat and nothing was popping in your head. And as a last like effort, you referenced an old letter that you wrote your girlfriend, right?
Yeah, and it was a letter I was writing to my girlfriend. So the first line came from the first line of that letter, and then everything else just naturally flowed and fell out after that. It just tumbled out as is. Like, crazily enough, there's some of my favorite lines that are in that song. I tend to obsess over writing sometimes. So when it just falls out of me, that can be frustrating because I'm like, why do I put so much? Like, I'll spend 5 years on a verse and like, I will never release it until it's the way I know it has to be. But then there's these songs where you write it in one go and it all comes together and you capture it out of the air, straight out of the air. It was like that with Sea Lion. It was like that with Make 'Em Purr. It was like that with Crack Pipes. But it was not like that with Slow Down Gandhi. It was not like that with Makeshift Patriot. So it's just like two different approaches.
Interesting process.
Yeah.
Sure. But for that album though, you wanted to basically tackle the lies that we live and who's telling them, who's benefiting from certain ones, how other ones hurt us, which ones we choose to confront, which ones we turn a blind eye to. And you really talk about organized religion because you felt like it was one of the greatest peddlers of lies, fear, and prostitution of the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, and that happens to be my grandmother's favorite album of mine. So she lets me know that. But she's put me onto a lot of great stuff. I was inspired. I think I needed something like that to be the, what would make the album cohesive in my mind. So a lot of the songs do revolve around that subject matter. And yeah, I mean, there's some real deep stuff on that song that has not been explained that I would like, if I ever wrote a book, I would go into further detail, but a song like Diamonds and Pearls. Now, that's a song I had to be tricky with because that was about my sister, who, I don't know if I talked about her with you yet, but like I didn't even meet her until I was a senior in high school, and then I tried to like really forge a good relationship with her, and she didn't live in the best circumstance. She was still around our father. Her mom, along with my dad, being batshit crazy and weirdly religious, and she got kind of like thrust into that, and then I can remember one day she was like, so you're not saved? You're not saved? I'm like, no, I'm not saved. I don't really believe in that. But at the same time, they're doing the most awful shit. Like these religious people that I had in my life were doing awful shit.
Contradictory.
And yes. And I just wanted to call it out. Now, it may have come across as like, at the time, it's like super, like this, the new atheism kind of was a thing. And maybe it was like too edgelord atheist stuff, but I wanted to explore it, and I don't regret any of that, but I pepper it throughout the album, and it's all based in things that I had experienced on a personal level, but I try to make it a more broadly understandable concept or story.
I notice you do that a lot. Like, you draw from personal experiences, but you're not always necessarily writing from like, this is, I went through this, and this is like, it's like you kind of like make little like references, like little vague like things, like to like, someone has to really analyze it and piece it together.
Yeah, well, I think that increases the chances of people being able to insert themselves instead of them just thinking it's about me. That allows them to put themselves in the story, or in, what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about Tiffany and Bethany. Like, I'm not saying names that may not resonate with you. It's like, I don't want to be too specific about my own personal experience, but I draw from that experience and explore that human condition so that others have access to it without feeling like they're being shut outside, looking in from the outside. They're on the inside if you let them in.
For sure. I think that allows people to really make the decision what that song really means to them.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
It's not always like that, but
right.
I try to do that.
So on October 16, 2010, ADeeM passed away. Can you talk to us about your guys' friendship and how you met?
Yeah. Well, when I started living in Brooklyn in 1999, I started catching wind of ADeeM's material. I think someone maybe gave me a tape. He did a project with a group called The Odd Jobs. And I noticed his skill level right away. I was like, yo, I didn't know he was a kid. He kind of had a lower timbre to his voice. He was clever. He just had great charisma on the mic. And, this also had to be around when I was like becoming familiar with Atmosphere and how we got in touch. And this was, I think it was in 1999. They asked me to hop on a few shows of theirs. And so it was Atmosphere where, Abilities was the DJ and ADeeM was the hype man, but ADeeM and Abilities would also open up. And then I would be the first opener. So we got close on that tour. We stayed in touch. I think we both admired each other's material. We both admired each other's battle styles. We talked, like he had tapes of my battles, and I wasn't too familiar with a lot of what he was doing because he was only like 16 years old, maybe 15 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. So he's out kicking ass. He's, like Slug is on the rise, like Atmosphere is on the rise. ADeeM and Abilities are like right there with them. And we just stayed in touch. And sadly, we've only done one song together with me, ADeeM, and Slug called Embarrassed. And that's when he was building, that's after he won the Blaze battle, and he used the money to build a recording studio in his mom's basement. Shout out to Kathy. So I was just chilling there, and he had a beat, and we recorded it like on the spot pretty much. And nowadays, AI accounts on streaming services are releasing songs that purport to feature me and ADeeM on them. Like, that's become a thing. And I don't know how to deal with that because it catches fans' attention. They're like, oh shit, what is this? A new song with Sage and ADeeM. I had to hit up my publishing company and ask what the hell, like, can we do anything about this?
Crazy, man.
Yeah. This new future is so whack, but, so yeah, we stayed in touch. We eventually fell out of touch after the 2001 tour, Fill in the Blanks. Cause he went off, he lived in St. Paul. I lived in Rhode Island. And and he was doing a lot of side projects. He was working with a lot of different people. And I feel like he just didn't feel welcome in the Rhymesayers circle for a while because they didn't want to work on the side projects with him. They just wanted Idea and Abilities. They wanted like boom bap albums from Idea. And that's not what he was into. He just was like too talented to stay in one lane. He wanted to try a lot of different stuff out, which I respect a lot. So anyways, he was doing that. I was doing my thing, touring like crazy. Eventually we would see each other at paid dues festivals or Rock the Bells festivals. And that's the last time, like, we didn't really even get to hang. I just would see him in passing, or he would be, backstage playing his guitar and like wants to show me his stand-up routine. Like he was trying to do bad jokes on stage, like thought it was very funny just to bomb on stage. And, I didn't quite get the joke, but I was like, do you, man? Do you? That's, I'm not a stranger to doing odd shit from time to time.
Right.
But there was a difference about him. And, yeah, I don't know. When he passed away, I was in New Zealand when I found out. I had a hard cry, and it just sucks, man. You come up with this ultra talented young cat with all the promise in the world, and then he's gone. And everyone that he affected is like, a lot of the people on Strange Famous Records rocked with him back in the day. And it's like, we all kind of just noticed that like a puzzle piece is missing. Right. So I stay in touch with his mom, Kathy. I can't listen to Atmosphere's song Flicker without crying. Like, that shit gets me every single time. But it was a great loss, and I'm happy to see that after death, I think just way more people have come to recognize how incredible he was. Because when he was living, it was a slow trickle for him. It was not like, after the Blaze battle and all that stuff and Scribble Jams and battles, rap stuff, it's like when he splintered off to do other things, it's like people kind of stopped paying attention for the most part. And only until he came back with By the Throat with Abilities for another Rhymesayers release, that's when people hopped back on board. But I almost feel like he did that begrudgingly, because he was like, man, I know what people want, so I'm going to give it to them, but I'm going to go off and do some other shit after this again.
Did you have any inclination that he was struggling the way that he was?
I had no idea. When we were touring together, we did the 2 tours together at least. And he didn't drink, he didn't smoke. He spoke about how he didn't when he was young, even younger than he was then. But yeah, he was totally straight. And I don't know. We had a bonding over that, because it was like me and him were the 2 goofy young kids in the back of the van. I was, a little older than him, but I was still the youngster of the bunch. And we got down like that. Like, we goofed off. We had like good, clean fun from city to city. It was like, he was like in a committed relationship, as was I. And there was no fooling around on tour. And man, I think I was not part of his day-to-day life after all this happened. But when he had that breakup with the long-term girlfriend, I feel like there was a break in him in some way, where things just didn't sit right. And I didn't learn about any drug use until way after. After his death, I really had no idea.
Do you have a favorite memory with him that you can share?
One of his birthdays, we were at a restaurant, and when the cake comes out and we start singing happy birthday to him, the whole time he's just going, me. So every time it's my birthday and someone sings happy birthday to me, I do the same thing in honor of Idea.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
I thought it was the funniest shit.
Yeah. I think it's hard when you lose people, because as you get older and you get to experience different things, you wonder what it would be like for them. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if he got older, he was able to have kids or like settle down, or, you know, even just see this new generation of music and everything, and how his reaction would be to it. Right.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, say with everybody we've lost. I mean, I think about that with Alias. I mean, he has two beautiful daughters and a wife that he met in high school, junior high. They were together all this time, and he just died suddenly of heart failure, which was an issue in his family that he was unaware about. And it's like, poof, they're gone. And now it just changes. It changed our landscape as a record label and as a friend group and a peer group. So yeah, I'm raising two daughters. I would love to have had him in the mix and even be able to ask him questions, share things with him that I know he would get a big kick out of. It really sucks, man, but such is life, I guess. You know, like, we never know who's going to go next. So we try to do our best to cherish each moment and each person when we can. Yet you got to be fair to yourself too, because like, you can't live every single day like it's literally your last, or the last time you see a person, like it's literally the last time you're going to see him. You got to be fair to yourself, because that would be annoying, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, man. Well, rest in peace to Idea and Alias, man.
Yeah, and many, many others.
Right.
That count is getting high these days.
For sure. Well, after the Life album, you went on kind of like a hiatus for like 4 years as far as putting out another album, but you were working on like the label. You were doing a lot of things behind the scenes, right? Can you talk about what was going on during that time?
Yes. Well, after the Life album, for years, I mean, ever since 2004, I've been eyeing the exit, trying to think of like, is it over from here on out? Should I try to do something else? So after Life and doing all the touring for Life, I had to admit to myself, I didn't have a home life. I didn't have much going on the home front. And the girl that I had been seeing for the past 4-5 years, it's like nothing really was developing from that. I didn't see a future with us really. She ended up moving to New York and pretending like I was going to move there too. I was like, I can't move to New York. I have my home here. I have my label here. So we ended up breaking that off. And I said, no more touring. Like, that's what's ruining my life. Cause I can't get anything else accomplished if I'm always on the road. And I'm on the road. I miss, my dad died when I was on the last tour. Idea died when I was on the last tour. I'm missing everyone's birthdays and all the gatherings and special moments because I'm always on the road. No more of that. So after 4 years of mostly being at home, not developing a home life, kind of falling deeper and deeper into depression, and being secluded and being a recluse, not being healthy, I had to give up on that and say, you know what? I got to make another album, get the hell out of here. Because it's the only thing I know how to do in my adult life.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. I was like, all right, I got to make the album and tour hard on it. And that's exactly what I did. 2014 comes around. This is the first time I released a studio album of my own on my own record label, which was daunting. I had just switched physical distributors. So this was the first time I'm working with a new distributor called Red Eye, which I didn't have a history with. So that was a gamble, very scary. But we got all our ducks in a row. I recorded everything when I needed to do it. Alias came through in the clutch. Alias was such an important part of that album and mixing it, because I had beats from so many different producers who lived in all different parts of the world, who were using all different systems. And he had to like make sense of it all in his studio and convert it all to the way it needed to be, and have the album sounding the way that it needed to be. And it actually charted on Billboard. with, like just a staff of 2 or 3 at Strange Famous. That was a big surprise. And not that we ever aim to chart. Like, I don't even fully know what that means or why it matters, but it means like a lot of people bought the album around the same time. So it shows up on a chart, but yeah, like when I caught wind of that, I was like, holy shit, like this is working out. Like I didn't need the big system that Epitaph utilizes, although it did help me to get to where I was. Now we're at a point where we can put out our own stuff in a very official way and get the same results that Epitaph did without them taking 65% or whatever it is from profits. So as an indie label, that was a big step up. That was a big level up, a big confidence booster. And I toured from 2014 all that year, all the way through 2015, all over the world, almost nonstop. As I was doing shows, I was booking shows at the same time. Oh, so this is also when I decided I'm not going to work with a booking agency anymore because they're not putting in the work for me. I'm going to do it all myself. So I just like became a DIY machine, really digging
Truly independent.
Yes, truly, like digging my heels in, putting in the time, being obsessed over it, knowing that only I can do this because I work for myself and no one else wants to work as hard for me as I do. And that's how it all worked out for the best overall. Yeah.
So you recorded that album, Copper Gone, at home, basically.
Yes.
In your own studio.
Yeah, I did it all on my own in my house.
Was that a different experience for you? Did you enjoy that more? You felt more comfortable?
Well, this is the first time I had done it outside of a studio and without an engineer. First time I ever did an album like that. I had walking pneumonia at the time when I recorded the album. Now, it was painful to breathe. So I would do a lot of takes until it was the way I wanted it to sound. And I'm happy that it was just me because I would have driven an engineer insane. But I didn't, I had my cats.
Right.
I had me and my cats and I was comfortable in this environment. This is the house I grew up in. This was the room I first started writing rhymes in when I was 8 years old. It all felt correct. It all felt like this is the way it should be for me, and to come full circle with my music and my relationship to music. And, but obviously I did need Alias's expertise after it was all said and done and recorded. But
with you living in the house that you grew up with, right, and you suffering some of that trauma as a kid there, do you ever feel like that energy is trapped there? Did you have to like kind of relieve the energy in any way, like burn real sage? I don't know, like, some type of thing.
Yeah. It's odd. Now it's totally, I don't live there anymore. It's the Strange Famous Records office and storage space. So everything looks way different. It's just shelves and shelves and shelves in every single room, boxes and boxes and boxes, vinyl, CDs, shirts, hoodies, hats everywhere. So it's not like, I still get tinges. I mean, I still get like the feeling a little bit, like the energy is there. The ghosts do exist. It's always had a haunted feeling to me, that house. And Storm, who's the main person who works out of that, could speak on it better than me. I've held back on asking him about it, but I think I'm going to ask him about it because I feel like he's kind of like, this place is a little weird. This place is, the energy is a little off, but I think it's perfect for what we use it for now.
That is pretty cool though, man, to say that you do own it still and you still use it to some capacity though, right?
I expected to live there my whole life. I didn't move there of my own like desire to leave. I had to move to Connecticut to be with my wife and kids for several reasons. And I don't know if I could ever get rid of it. Maybe at someday I will have to. I don't know. But it's really great that we get to utilize it and I get to visit it whenever I want.
How far is it from where you live?
It's about 80 minutes.
Oh, okay. So not bad at all.
Yeah, it does suck though. Like have to drive 80 minutes there and then 80 minutes back home. So I go there like once a month to do stuff that I need to do.
Right.
But it's a special area. It's secluded. You're in the woods. Train tracks are still there. The train no longer goes by anymore. Yeah, lots of memories in that area. And it, I don't know, like I get a weird feeling in my stomach in certain areas. Like libraries do this to me. If I step into a library, I kind of get a weird feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but like I have to use the bathroom or something. It's like that house does that to me too. Or just being around it, I think it conjures up so much that I have a physical response to it.
What are your thoughts on the current state of hip hop journalism?
The thoughts on current hip hop journalism, about the same as regular journalism. It's all gone to shit. No, man, hip hop journalism might be even worse because there is good independent journalism out there that are able to raise money so that they can continue their efforts. Hip hop though, man, I remember these long form interviews and like great think pieces that were written in the Source magazine. That's what inspired me to want to be a hip hop journalist if I couldn't have a hip hop career. But there's not enough money to be made from dedicating yourself to being an incredible hip hop journalist. People are not paying for that. People are not going out of their way to find it. You're getting your journalism from pitchfork people who are not hip hop people, and Fantano.
You don't like Fantano?
Not really. I'm not a huge follower of his, but it's like, I don't like how he's like the go-to, the main, almost the only person who people look to for a hip hop review.
Like who crowned him kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, his taste is, I don't know if it's not just hip hop. Like he's got all different types of music that he delves into. I like a hip hop specialist. I don't think that's him.
So what do you think of like the major platforms that exist with, well, there's just so many now, right? Like podcasting in general is just, it's just hip hop media now. Like rappers are becoming podcasters now because you get more money from it than actually selling CDs these days or getting your song streamed. For like every rapper you can imagine, from, Jim Jones and Fabulous and Nori has Drink Champs, of course. And then you have like the more like the Vlad TVs and stuff like that. So what do you think about all these different platforms?
That's where everything's going. I mean, it's tough to keep up with it all. There's only a few that really pop off. Like Drink Champs took off really big. I like to listen to Dad Bod Rap Pod, Call Out Culture, like homies that started hip hop podcasts who I know have a deep history in hip hop. I love to listen to their opinions and the people that they speak to. But it used to be blogs. Like after magazines were dead, blogs were the big thing. And then now it's podcasts. So who knows what's going to happen next? I've long wanted to do a podcast of my own. I bought the URL in 2020. I had artwork done. I have the intro recorded. I just never got, like, I'm not a fan of talking. So that's a hurdle I probably should have gotten over before coming up with any podcast concept.
Right.
But yeah, I like it. I don't listen to music much. I prefer to listen to people talk. That may have something to do with living in a house with children, and you're always, like you can't really have adult conversations with children in the mix who always need your attention or mom's attention. So I'll put in my earbud and I'll just listen to adult conversations, talk about hip hop or sports or politics. And I like podcasts a lot. So that's my thought on it.
Okay, from you having a degree in journalism, right? Do you classify what most of these rappers doing on podcasts as journalism, or are you more traditional in your thought of you need a degree in journalism to be considered a journalist?
Oh, you don't need a degree at all. But what they're doing is not journalism. It's more opinion pieces than anything. It's, which is fine. But I would love if there was a solid hip hop journalist podcast who took it seriously, understood what it means to be an ethical journalist and to be unbiased and dig up interesting news and facts and let the audience be privy to what you've discovered and let them make up their minds about what is what. There's probably a wide open field for that, honestly. So
is it really possible to be unbiased?
You could put in effort. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to say everything with a slant or an angle that you're trying to elicit a certain opinion or feeling out of your audience. And that may sound dry, and that may be an outdated concept to most people, but I think it serves a good purpose.
I feel like out of the modern day, the people that would be considered more of the journalists in hip hop would be like a Elliot Wilson, and in some people's opinions, Vlad. What do you think?
I don't know. As far as Vlad is concerned, he farms for content. And I'm sure you farm for content, but it feels like that's what people in your position need to do in order to get the views, that get the streams.
What do you mean by that? Farming for content?
Like, well, you want the sound bites. People are existing online and consuming short form content. So you have to get a spicy soundbite here and there, or an opinion that's going to get the comment section fired up, or even rage baited into contributing to the comment section, which pushes you into the algorithm and gets you in front of more eyes. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying there is a lot of that. And there's room for other stuff that I think should be explored. And I don't know by who. So I come with no answer on that front.
It's kind of a difficult time that we live in now with content creation, where it's created a culture where everything has become content, right? Like content is king, and people will do anything for it, for the next clip to get that dopamine hit of likes and comments and all that stuff like that.
Yeah, but everything's going to crash out at a certain point. You can't keep pushing it like that. Personally, I haven't really discussed this with a lot of people, but for my next album, I'm seriously considering going back to the old ways of doing shit. I am not going to do the content dance. My videos will be very minimal. My marketing will be very minimal. I'm not really, I mean, I got to live off it. So I got to figure out a way to get people to be aware of it, but I'm not doing that dance. I'm going to cut down on a lot of it, because for a very long time, I existed online to continually push Strange Famous and our music and my career. And it was my one and only lifeline to the fan base. But they've scattered so much since it's not just, it used to be just MySpace was the downtown of the internet. Right. Right. And then Facebook took over, but then it splintered off into 100 different things that I cannot keep up with. And I can't pretend that I can have genuine interactions with fans, which I love to do, if I'm just like aggregating my content across platforms that I don't truly check out. And I'm always looking for a way to get people to respond or engage if I'm not also involved and engaged in it. Oddly enough, like the most popular Instagram post I ever had was made recently, and this was not done on purpose. I just talked about Benefit and his Mario Brothers rap song from the Napster days.
Yep, I saw that.
So that has like right now it has 24,000 likes, and it boosted my following by at least 1,000, where I had been stagnant for years, like right underneath the 50,000 mark. And I'm always like, I keep providing content and material for this motherfucking platform that does not ever serve me. And then this one like flippant, like side idea, just kind of throwaway post that I thought would be funny for a few people ended up being like a booster for me. It's like, I'm not trying to figure this shit out anymore.
Well, first of all, that's a classic one. Okay. Like that was like one of the early internet things that if you were on the internet back then, you remember that song. You know what I mean? Like for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, look at the comments. It's like people had forgotten it for 20 years and they're like, holy shit, core memory unlocked. It's like Benefit really, he dropped the bag by not staying more like present and available to people, because he has a lot of fans out there. Like people are loving it. Like they're just like reminiscing about how much they love the So Sick album and Proceed with Caution. And I actually tracked him down to hop on a track on my latest mixtape, which came out earlier this year. So it's called Five Hearts Redux. And I hadn't heard of him since the Mario Brothers rap. And I don't even know how I got in touch with him, but I was like, yo, I got this song about video games. It would be cool to get you on it. He was like, yeah, man. So he just hopped on, and like none of these 24,000 people know that he actually has a verse on my stuff, which is weird. Right, I can't figure it out. Can't call it anymore. Cannot call it.
The Sage Francis that we see today is much different than the one from back in the day, as it should be, right? Everybody grows and changes and ultimately should strive to become better. But there was a period of time when you were not Dad Francis. You were more angry, you were, more violent, or where did all that come from, and how were you able to heal from that to get to this point now?
Growth, man. Life, just humility, loss, testosterone levels.
Testosterone levels.
That's what happens, man. You slow down and you start to realize, I'm going to hurt myself if I try that. So I'll take a, side seat and let other people do the dangerous stuff. I spoke pretty wildly for a long time. I didn't care about consequences. I, in fact, probably invited consequences. I felt invincible for many years, since like 14 years old. And I was correct. I didn't die the whole time. And now that's probably not the case anymore. So I have to switch my whole thing up.
The main thing that changed you was having kids?
I don't know. It was a slow leak. It was a slow burn. Yeah. I certainly would say that having kids and my actions reflect on them in some way. I'm sure I need to be more aware of that. And I am more aware of that. And, but I also, I mean, your kids are not your actions cannot be a reflection of your kids. People need to be smart enough to separate the two, but, I'd hate to answer for my father's misdeeds, but I really just want to raise good kids. I just want to have a healthy and happy family and thrive. And any negativity that exists, for me to invite that into our mix is a dumb idea. So I kind of do my best to remove myself from anything of the sort.
What is something you take away from your childhood, good or bad, that impacts how you parent today? Because I know recently you said you do almost everything the opposite of what your stepdad did with you when it comes to raising kids, except for the empathy part?
That's a good question. Our three kids are three different personalities. I was an only child. So I don't know how my parents would have dealt with having to like
balance.
Balance it, spread their attention amongst each personality. Our oldest girl, I identify most with her. She's smart, but she's lazy, and tries to get away with not doing things and in ways that I used to do. So I have to like let her understand that I relate to her in that way, and she's not going to fool me. And that's why it will upset me if she continues to pull certain tricks. I'm like, this is not going to work for me because I already did that.
Isn't it funny though? Like the stuff that triggers you is the stuff that reminds you of yourself though.
Yeah.
Because like, like it's like looking in the mirror.
It is. Yeah. It's frustrating. It's frustrating because you recognize it in yourself and you're like, God, like, and you know it at the time. I just want them to grow up to understand discipline and work ethic and to be kind. And they are all kind. All of them are kind. Maybe not to one another all the time, but in social settings, they know how to act, which is great. But yeah, I'm still winging it. I mean, my wife and we're both kind of making it up as we go and trying to be as thoughtful and mindful as possible and not be pushovers. Make sure they understand what responsibility is, what consequences are, and why they exist. And I explain myself. I feel like I explain myself better than my parents did. I never say, 'cause I said so, I always give an explanation, whether they accept it or not, but there's always an explanation for why we do what we do. It's not just, random.
Right.
And
I think that one of the more important things is being able to apologize to your kids when you're wrong, showing that humility, because I'm sure you come from the generation of when the parents don't say sorry. It's just like they just act like nothing happened and you just move on, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think it's very important. In fact, I had this conversation with them not too long ago. I'm not going to say with who, but one of our kids never says sorry. And I'll say something that they did and they don't accept accountability for it. And I say, I want you to understand that you need to accept accountability for what you do. At least acknowledge it so that your mom and I know that you should not be doing those things. And that those things kind of like stick out to me because I know adults like that, right? And I don't want them to turn into those kind of adults who are completely blameless all the time.
And it happens in a blink of an eye too, because time just goes by that quick, man. With a snap of a finger. So yeah, it's crazy. All right, Sage, man, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else you want to say to the people before we go ahead and wrap it up?
Just like I said, I'm not sure where I'm going to exist in the future online, but you can always check out strangefamous.com or Bandcamp as long as that exists and it's nice to their artists. Check out what we're doing. I guarantee if you're a hip hop head, we've got stuff that you're going to dig and be impressed by. Like, oh shit, people are still doing like still developing on that kind of concept or those kind of beat ideas. Yeah, we're doing it.
I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you, sir.